It's fun to watch that participant number increase.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone. We will start in about 5 minutes. So just grab a seat, relax for a little bit, and we will begin soon.
Actually, you have me marked as Simon Cosman. You want to change that to Aaron?
Yeah, let me change that.
Although Simon is pretty cool. I don't mind having his name.
How's that look?
Dan and Aaron, it'd be also good if people put their questions in the Q&A instead of the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, they can put questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll look for both. All right. Hey, Dat, when are we launching the poll? Oh, you're muted.
Till the beginning, right before we will lecture.
Okay.
Actually, maybe we'll start and then we launch the poll. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the person that asked that question, it will be launched. It'll show up on your screen and you'll answer the questions. Simple as that.
Sounds good.
All right. And we will start in about 2 minutes.
We're just going to make the whole chat about football.
Yeah, go Chiefs.
We're going to live stream NFL games. Put some commentary behind that.
That Chiefs game was one hell of a game.
Oh my gosh.
God.
I'll say I can't root for the Chiefs because they beat the Niners in the Super Bowl, but Mahomes is a prodigy for sure. This is going to be fun to watch him.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. Exciting end to the season.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron. I think
So would it be bad if I lectured just wearing this the whole time?
Oh, no, it's perfect. Go Niners.
This is not CE, right? If it's not CE, I don't have to be super professional or anything.
Yeah.
No?
I love it.
Promote
I
other
keep it
interests.
up.
You're good.
No, we just had like 50 people just sign off just because I put the beanie on.
Yeah.
Now they really won't believe you.
Yeah, we
Will.
found all the Rams fans.
All right, Aaron. Let's go.
All right. We will give it, 10 seconds. When it hits 9, we'll start. All right, perfect. It is 9 a.m. We're going to go ahead and get started so that we do not fall behind. So welcome everyone to the first ODs on Finance virtual webinar event of 2022. To all the ODs, students, opticians, office managers, and VSP spies in the audience, I want to extend a special thank you for spending part of your Sunday with us. And first of all, we've got a couple announcements before we get started. I know that most of you are well versed with ODs on finance at this point, but for those who are new here, we've got a couple of things here. First of all, jump on the website if you haven't. We've got a ton of guides, a ton of student refi deals. You can just scan that QR code right there or click the link and check it out. And when you're on the website, make sure to subscribe to the newsletters. Maybe a little pop-up that's going to let you do that. Or you can actually sign up on one of the pages, and that's going to keep you up to date. We send out monthly newsletters with basically everything that's going on in the news, as well as new articles for you to read as well. And we are super excited for 2 amazing February lectures. So number 1, we actually have a sequel to this lecture. I'm sorry, well, I didn't tell you about that. It's called Unplug Your Practice and Eliminate Vision Plans. So Steve Alexander, who has basically built a career out of getting practices out of reading vision plans, is going to be giving a 50-minute blueprint on how to do that. He's going to outline it step by step. And if you know Steve, he's actually the marketing manager of Anagram as well. So this is his bread and butter, is getting practices out of vision plans. So make sure to scan that QR code, get registered for that. That is happening in a couple weeks. And then the week after that, and both of these events are on Sundays, we're going to have Jeffrey Gerson on, awesome lecturer, retina expert out in the Midwest. And he's going to be giving a COPE-approved CE lecture for 1 hour on non-exudative AMD, both treatments and diagnosis, and some new technologies that are available for detecting AMD. So sign up for that one. That's going to be our first COPE-approved one of the year. And now we're going to turn it over to our sponsors. We're going to have them have a quick word, and then afterwards, we're going to have the legendary Will Toe jump on and give his lecture. So we're going to start out with Eric Matai and Akrinos. So Eric, go ahead and take it away.
Excellent. Aaron, thanks so much. Now listen close, everybody. Listen close. Hello there and good morning. It's mighty great to meet. You turn it on this webinar, you're bound to learn something neat about how to code and build and not to do it wrong. Gonna learn some keys from Dr. Will, get paid right all day long. You help your patients see you wanna get paid right, even when their VSP takes who you feel alive. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, da, 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 da. All day and week you treat your patients right, doing all you can to give the perfect sight. Never compromise in the care, you gotta give it every cut, no cone. Help the patients live. Hyperopes, myopes, astigmats too. Awesome. Call sense medical, cause that's what you do. Who cares what you got within your reach? Applying behaviors is what you always preach. But now it's time to get paid what you worth. Be sure to take the notes so you don't get served. Scope care is hot. Patients eat a lot, no matter what plan they got. You're loving what you got. Remember that, patients, loving what you got. Don't cry seeing vision plans today, cause there's a way to be sure you're paid your way. Listen close, take notes, don't be shocked. Dr. Toe gonna tell us what he's got. It's all about the codes and billing strategies that will grow your profits with ease. Yes, we're pleased to sponsor this for optometry. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric Matai, and I am the president and chief vision officer of Akrinos. On behalf of our team, it's a pleasure and privilege to help make this event possible. So I've got one question for everyone joining us today, and it's this. What are your goals in 2022, right? Aaron, if you could please advance the slide. Are you the established practice owner that's looking to take your practice to the next level, driving growth, profitability, and eliminating headaches for your team? Or are you, Aaron, please advance the slide, the emerging private practitioner, where 2022 is going to be your year to cold start or purchase the practice of your dreams? Aaron, if you could please advance the slide. We would love to connect with you to learn about your goals for 2022, learn about your vision, and share how we can help you get there. So scan the code here. We would love to catch up. Also, if you're going to be here in New Orleans at SECO, come find us at booth 1633. We're also going to be heading up to Vision Expo East, hanging out in the Techify Pavilion. So shoot us a note. We'd love to meet. On behalf of us at Acrinos, we hope you find today's program valuable. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Brad Noel is not dead, apparently. He is alive and well, and he just played that song right there. That is fantastic. All right, so make sure to scan that QR code and get in touch with Eric. He's a fantastic guy. We've known him for quite a while. Great consultant. All right, and now we're going to move it over. Perry, you've got quite the act to follow up, and we talk about Entrepreneur. And go ahead, Perry.
Great. I'm Perry with Entrepreneur Media. I have my own Facebook group, but I'm really all about education, supporting the community. And I have a new program I'm offering. Next slide. And so this is not an advertisement. All I want you today to do is to grow your optical. Next slide. So there I am, feeling cute, might delete later. I'm a consultant, educator, and I do a lot of other things on the industry side. So in the chat, if you want to put what percentage of your sales come from optical, just put that right in the chat. I'm thinking 50, most for everybody, at least 50. Next slide. So who's educating your staff? Is it lab reps, frame reps, other reps? All these people have interest in your optical because they're making commission on you. So I want you to think really hard about the vendors you choose. Next. And so we all have to learn all these things: product sourcing, merchandising, budgeting, PAL troubleshooting, sales. How do we do all this today? Next, please. And we're all kind of tired of webinars, except ODs on Finance, because we get these wonderful presentations and surprises. So continue, please. And wouldn't it be great if we could learn from our colleagues in an environment that's every Wednesday where we're all on video, we're all collaborating together. So I'm launching a new talk show. It's every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for you to sign up. There's no ads. It's a very collaborative effort. It's 60 minutes of straight Q&A. Next, please. If you want to go in the chat and sign up. And I'm doing it with my dad, who's an optometrist. And it's going to be a really lively, fun talk show with a bunch of guest celebrity hosts. So here's what's important. There's no sales pitches, no slide decks. You're here to network and build relationships. And there's going to be no annoying sales emails afterwards. I've done so many webinars and I don't want to be bothered. I just want to help you build your optical by collaborating with others. And here's our current resident host. We have Keith, who owns an independent laboratory, Jolene, who's an awesome industry expert, and Harrison, who owns a eyewear technology company with Smart Eyewear. So if you would please scan this QR code. The first show is going to be mid-February, and I can tell you this is going to be a one-of-a-kind event that happens every single week. If you want to get real education, you have to learn it from your colleagues. It's not going to happen at Vision Expo. It's not going to happen in these Facebook groups. You have to learn and actually talk to people. So I invite you to attend, hang out. This is for staff, doctors, industry reps, everybody. We should all be here to support each other and be independent. So thank you so much.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Perry. And if you've listened to Entrepreneurs Podcast, it's fantastic. So we're all excited for this talk show. And to have it on weekly, it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of good information. So definitely recommend checking that out. Scan the QR code. And let's go ahead and head over to our next sponsor. It's going to be our first platinum sponsor, and that is OptiZoom. So we're going to go ahead and hand it over to CEO Aaron Kosman.
Simon, are you there?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep.
Aaron, go ahead. It's all good.
All right, cool. So Simon is here on the chat. He's my brother. He's been the admin of the Oz group, so I give him full credit for growing that community as the new forward-thinking community for all eye care professionals, whether it be docs, opticians, techs, to just be exposed to new forward-thinking ways of practicing, not just OptiZoom, but in general, all forms of practicing, to not fall into that same hole of like, once they jump in, they got to climb back out and jump on a webinar and figure out how to get back out. But anyways, the way I started with OptiZoom was my family's been in the industry for like 40 years around. And My father is still going strong with his company, servicing eye care professionals internationally. He's partnered with like many different vendors, and it was eye-opening when I was working for him, seeing how doctors were faxing in orders, and that led me to thinking of many other things that were not happening in terms of the streamlining ordering process, like having order tracking available, keeping track of invoicing from different companies you're buying from, the turnover rate, if your optician needs to go or the office manager needs to go, training in new opticians for ordering if you're not the managing OD. Even if you're sourcing from international sites like Alibaba or others, it's not necessarily guaranteed the customer support factor and also the shipment factor. Are you even going to get the product? And you have to put in like a huge minimum order amount. So what we had to do, what needed to be done is centralizing that ordering, having access to great customer support, and having it where it's the same price as going direct and auto delivery. So you don't even have to think about it. As soon as you put in the order, the same price stays as soon as you place that order, and it just keeps on sending to your practice. Think of just proparacaine or dilation drops in general on auto ship whenever you need it. So that's when we put together OptiZoom, and many practices across the United States have been enjoying our service. And we've used this downtime in 2021, Corona time, to rebuild onto a stronger and more efficient platform for vendors, not just the practitioner side. And I'm super honored to be here today, and thank you all for joining this webinar. You can scan the QR code. There's a special invite for ODs on Finance members. That's all for OptiZoom.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Aaron. And Dat and I are big fans of tech. We invest in tech. We love disruptive tech, and OptiZoom is exactly that, but for the eye care industry. So for all your supplies, it's fantastic. We're both super excited to see what this final product looks like. So thank you, Aaron and OptiZoom, for coming on.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are going to jump over to our next platinum sponsor, and that is Dr. Contact Lens. And we've got the always awesome Brianna Rue on to talk about Dr. Contact Lens. So Brianna, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. Thanks for joining us on your Sunday. I am an optometrist. I practice in South Florida. Somebody send me a coat. It is really chilly here. So Dr. Contact Lens, we are a marketing and reorder platform that's equipping doctors with the tools that are necessary to recapture your contact lens revenue, improving it both for the patient, the staff, and the doctor experience. So let's just hop right over here. So again, Dr. Contact Lens, contacts in a click. That's really what we enable you to do with your staff. Next slide. So again, we are a marketing reorder tool that allows you to go after all of this lost revenue that's hiding in your practice. So the problem that we have, next slide, is showing patients that we can actually be convenient. So a walk-in scripts account for $100,000 of potential lost revenue. Did you know that every time that you hand a patient a copy of their prescription, you are literally handing them $300 to go spend outside of your store on someone else's website? The staff time that it takes to process a single contact lens order takes over 325 hours annually to process one order throughout the year. So there's 28 steps from start to finish for staff, and it takes 12 steps to process an order for a patient. Just like we are receiving everything on our doorstep, contact lenses should be no different. So what we allow you to do is go after 4 channels of revenue here. Next slide. We enable you to go after your walk-in scripts by handing them a digital copy of their prescription. We allow you to go after your reorders. So patients that ordered a 6-month supply or an annual supply or less, they're going to get a reorder reminder from you via text. And then also those patients that are non-compliant. Average contact lens patient comes back every 18 to 24 months. We want them to obviously come back every 12. And as you sell more contact lenses, those amazing rebates actually go up. So our solution is more revenue, that better patient experience, and less work for your staff. How it works, next slide. The patient sees you for the eye exam. That information automatically uploads into Dr. Contact Lens. If we are not integrated with your EMR, you can still use Dr. Contact Lens. And I will say some of our most successful offices actually use it the disconnected way. The patients receive a text message and an email. They can log in one click, or your staff orders for them right on the spot. So that's off of their desk to do. And you make all of the money on that sale. So what we do then are a couple of things. If you go to the next slide, we help you capture a bunch of tools in one platform. Here we help you with reorder reminders. Keep going, just click all the way through. So appointment reminders, marketing tools, reorder reminders, the FTC compliant digital scripts, and an online store, and also tracking tools for trials. So everybody at least should have a contact lens ordering button on their website. However, you need to go a step further. Nobody is going to remember westbrowardeyecare.com at 9:30 at night to remember to reorder their contacts. So you have to do this via text and email driven. Next slide. What we do is all of this. We have one-click ordering. We integrate with your EMR and your distributors. Patients can use their vision plan and their rebates. We have the FTC digital prescriptions, the business intelligence, and marketing features behind your practice. So a little magic behind this on the next slide is one of my favorite features that we have launched. You can click all the way through this slide. Here, when a patient sits down in your chair, we like to call this the exit through the gift shop strategy. What we do is, instead of printing that paper copy, remember, you're literally handing the patient $300 to spend outside of your store, you give them a digital copy inside your store. Space Mountain lets us off in the gift shop because they want us to purchase something. So use this FTC rule to your advantage. Here's where the digital copy lives. They can see that their benefits load, their rebates load, and they literally click confirm order. That totally overcomes them going to another website to order. So that's the exit through the gift shop. We're integrated with ABB, WVA, and eDoctor, and we're breaking ground actually with OOGP to come. Next slide. So the patient now receives a text message, they log in, they can upgrade to next day or free day shipping, and away they go. Literally, for every 1,000 contact lens patients you have in your practice, you're sitting on potentially $200,000 of low-hanging fruit in your practice to go after and capture reorders. Next slide. So what we've got is, how valuable is your staff time? Obviously, with the Great Resignation going on, it's hard to train people on everything that we do. So here, what we're doing is we're giving you a customer relationship tool to actually see where your patients are that are due to reorder and where your patients are expired. So here in this practice, go ahead and click all the way through on this slide. This practice has 550 expired patients that need to come back and see the eye doctor. Then they have 249 patients that are due to reorder. So instead of having your staff spend 10 minutes placing an order, you can literally click on one of these hyperlinks that loads a nice list of patients, and now you can actually go and capture that revenue. So instead of wasting 10 minutes of time, you have them doing higher level processes here. The EMRs that we integrate right now are OfficeMate, ExamWriter, Crystal Practice Management, and Revolution, and we're breaking ground on another couple here to come. It's important when you see something that you want innovated that you go and talk to your EMR and let the EMRs know that you want this. Next slide. Some people think that they actually don't need Dr. Contact Lens. Let me break this down for you. For every 1,000 contact lens patients that you have, if your capture rate is 80%, you can click through the slide, that means that 200 patients walked out of your door that you did not give yourself the ability to go after. Now, let's break it down again. Your annual supply rate is 50%. That means you sold 400 annual supplies, kudos to you, and 400 patients need some form of a reminder. That means with a high capture rate and a high annual supply rate, that 600 patients need to hear from you. This is why we think there's no money in contact lenses, because this is what we're letting out into the online world. What does it cost you to bring on Dr. Contact Lens? You can click through. What does it cost, right? Don't ask yourself what technologies cost. Ask yourself what it will cost you if you don't add it to your practice. Literally, it's one annual supply sale a month that you lost. It's one contact lens exam that you can bring back in. It's 2 reorders a month, and you're also saving close to $15,000 a year on staff time. So here, what you do with Dr. Contact Lens, you increase your reorders. You can click through. Increase your reorders. You see more contact lens patients. You increase your direct ship to patient. You decrease your returns. And that's Dr. Contact Lens. So we're giving you the tools to capture more sales, streamline your process, move your practice forward, and you can book a demo right here. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Brianna. And my follow-up to this one is, if you don't have this already, you need to get it right now. Just scan the code. We're on a webinar about making money. This is how you make money with contact lenses. So scan the code, sign up. It's a great platform and a great program. So thank you again. And we're going to move on to our last sponsor. That's our diamond sponsor, which is Sunbit. Sunbit wasn't able to be here today, so I'm just going to do a quick bit for them, no pun intended there, and also play a short video. So Sunbit is the first ever buy now, pay later payment solution made for the optical industry. Sunbit is the leading buy now, pay over time payment option for optical practices built to boost average order values, improve capture rate, and grow patient satisfaction. So Robert, who is their main contact for the eyewear division, has recorded a quick video for us to kind of demonstrate how Sunbit works. So we'll watch that, and then we're going to jump right into Will's lecture right after.
What buy now, pay over time is. You're probably familiar with buy now, pay later from shopping online, but you probably haven't seen it in the optical practice or in person ever. So I'll take a second to explain that. First of all, when we moved into this space, we actually did a survey of over 1,000 eye care professionals. We asked a simple question. We asked, why don't patients purchase their eyewear? And why do they opt out of treatments after their eye exam? And the answer was relatively simple. Over 50% of people, eye care professionals, responded that it was too expensive for patients to complete the treatment. Now, 52% of people said it was too expensive, but 16% of people said patients want to shop around. 9% said they need to talk to a loved one. These reasons, they tie into pricing as well. I don't ask a loved one if something looks good if I know the cost is $20, but when it's $200, $300, pricing gets scary, and I stop and I maybe balk at the cost. Now, there's something else that happens here, and then something else happening in the United States that's important to understand. 40% of Americans do not have access to $400 to spend out of pocket in the event of an unexpected expense or an emergency, and 62 million Americans don't have vision insurance. So what that means is out-of-pocket costs in the optical can be very prohibitively expensive and create anxiety even when it's a necessity. So we took that understanding and we asked patients, would you upgrade your eyewear if a buy now, pay later solution was offered? Overwhelmingly, the answer was yes. 74% of people, patients, told us they would upgrade their eyewear if a solution like buy now, pay later was offered. Now, it's not just one thing they felt like they were foregoing. People want multiple items, another pair of glasses, lens upgrades, prescription sunglasses. These are all things people said they would like to buy if they had more access to a buy now, pay over time solution. Now, what does that actually mean, buy now, pay over time? You've probably seen online at some point to now, companies like Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay. And if you haven't heard those names, you've probably seen, paying for, instead of $1,000, pay as low as $106 a month. Simple, easy technology that makes shopping easier. It's even offered online today. If you go to Warby Parker for optical needs, you can see buy now, pay later offered. What that means is consumers, patients expect to be able to buy now, pay over time. It's become much harder for someone to spend $400 upfront than it was a few years ago. That means it's harder for you to sell it. And what that means really is, online, there are options, but in person, they're not. So when people are in an optical or in any brick and mortar, they're thinking about whether they can get a better deal online. Now, we've built a solution to combat that. We've built a sales tool in the form of a tablet to help you capture lost revenue. So I'm going to shift over and I'm going to share what that looks like on my tablet. So this is the tablet that we put into a practice to help with capturing lost revenue. I'm sharing it here. You can see my screen and I'm.
All right. So that is Sunbit, and Sunbit is, once again, fantastic. It's something you should definitely bring into your office. It's something that allows you to capture more patients that might not be able to pay up front or pay the full amount. And once again, great technology. They give you a little tablet, you put it right in the front desk, and it works great. And I know a lot of the panelists here have Sunbit and have utilized it in their offices. So definitely check them out.
What buy now, pay over time is.
Of course, that's going to play again. All right. And we are going to go ahead and jump right into today's event. So just a few disclosures about this event. This is a non-CE event. There's no COPE-approved material in this one. All material is property of the speaker and not us. And all views and opinions expressed in this speaker presentation are of the speaker and not of us. You can always contact us with any questions, admins@odsonfinance.com. And let me just give a quick introduction for our speaker today. So Dr. Wilto is a doctor of optometry with multiple years of healthcare experience in providing eye care and educating patients, with an emphasis on pediatrics and ocular surface disease. In his 5 practice locations in 3 different states, he believes in the design-based patient experience with a team-driven approach. Outside of the exam room, Dr. Will collaborates with optometric leaders and organizations to motivate others and create opportunities for those around him. He regularly speaks at conferences and colleges of optometry around the country on practice management, career development, and advancing technology in optometry. Dr. Will is currently the president of the Santa Clara County Optometric Society and serves on several California Optometric Association and American Optometric Association committees. He is the chief marketing officer of Young ODs of America, YOTA, and the host of the Traveling OD Media Productions. He's a KOL for several industry partners and has been presented in over 100 lectures. Dr. Will has recently recognized as the top 50 most influential healthcare professionals in 2019. And Will actually practices about 20 minutes away from me and Dat, so we are all friends and he is fantastic. He does a ton for us in the Bay Area in terms of practicing optometry, so we are happy to have him on. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it over to Will. You are spotlighted. Go ahead and share your screen if you want to.
All right, let's get things going here. You can hear me okay?
You're good? Okay.
Well, first thing I want to do is thank Aaron and Dat for inviting me to do this right here. I mean, working with ODs and really helping us all be successful is a passion of mine. That's why I do this kind of stuff. Those of you who don't know me, which I'm sure there's plenty in the audience now, I typically do these type of lectures more on the local level. I do travel around the country a lot. Before COVID, I was doing about 100,000 miles a year, going around doing different lectures, and but more specifically, helping out the people in my area. So this particular lecture here, which I'm just using the title and that Dat and Aaron made for me, but typically I like to call this lecture how to buy a new Tesla every year, because really that's, the amount of money that you can generate from VCP sometimes is almost shocking. And we leave so much money on the table. It's really unfortunate because you're probably already doing a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about. You're just not billing and coding and seeing it in the right way. And therefore you're just not getting reimbursed the right way. So hopefully we'll be able to open some eyes today. This particular lecture I've done in it like 4 to 5 hours before with people who are asking questions, engaging. We're not going to do that for 4 or 5 hours a day. So I tried to pick some of the kind of more major points to at least get you thinking in the right way. And hopefully we can potentially even do a series or be able to do a lot more follow-ups on this topic, because there's so much information. And like I said, my goal is to make sure all of us are successful, particularly in the last couple of years with COVID really doing a number on a lot of our practices. For me, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're across the street from me, I'm still going to help you just as much, because the truth is, once one of us starts failing, once one of our practices shut down, sometimes it becomes a domino effect in certain areas. And we really don't want to see that happening to any of our practices. So we compete when we can, but we also work together when we can too. So this is one of those moments that I'm really trying to get us all to think and work together as a unit. The good news about this one is, good and bad news. This is not going to be a CE lecture, as Aaron was saying. Typically, sometimes I do this as a practice management CE as well. I don't think we just didn't have the time to get that all set up, but maybe in the future we could make some of the CE so those of you can get credit for it. But not being a CE also means that I can be a little bit more loose. So hopefully, not as restrictive with some of the rules that come with CEs. And once again, I do, one of the big things, I want to thank Dat and Aaron again, because ODs on Finance to me has been one of the best things that's probably happened to us, to optometry in a while. I talk to a lot of financial advisors, and just the stuff that they give away for free is stuff that we would be paying tens of thousands of dollars for easily. And so it shocks all these financial advisors when I have all this information. They're like, how do you know this? People don't typically know this. Like, oh, we have this online forum. Which I completely, truthfully, I'm on there 5 days a week, easily. I have way too much time on my hands, apparently. But, it's shocking how good of a resource it is. And sometimes we can crowdsource a lot of information together, and the discussions we have are very high level. So for me, it's been one of the best things to have. And this is my way of also giving back to ODs on Finance, because it's done to me a lot in terms of helping me set myself up for my future success. And then everybody else, all the other sponsors are great too. Dr. Contact Lens, Brianna, truthfully, I'm not joking. I call her the Elon Musk of optometry. The stuff that she comes up with, not just Dr. Contact Lens, but the stuff she has coming up that she's told me about, it blows my mind. So she's amazing. OptiZoom, Entrepreneur, these guys are really, really good. So I'm glad to have these people sponsoring this talk. All right, just a little bit of quick background about me, because like I said, a lot of you don't really know me. I went to UC San Diego for my undergraduate. This is our library, which was amazing. I never stepped foot in it because I was not as diligent probably as I should have been. So I went to optometry school at Western University, graduated in 2016. So I was in the 4th graduating class they had. And then afterwards, instead of really jumping into practicing right away, I actually went to Wharton School of Business at UPenn. So I took some business specialization classes there, which helped me get a lot of background insight into the business side of optometry. And from starting 2019, fall of 2019, I actually purchased my first practice in California. And this was about 6 months before the pandemic. And great timing, of course. But since then, I've grown and actually have 5 locations right now, 1 in Alaska, 1 in California, 3 in New York. And I have 2 more locations opening in California in the Bay Area later this year, 1 in the spring and 1 in the summer. So I'm in a very hyper growth situation where I'm really trying to tap into, as I said, the business side of optometry. And while at the same time, maintaining high level of healthcare. I tell everybody I'm always going to be a doctor first. I'm always going to make healthcare decisions first and business decisions second. So this lecture here, though, I really want to emphasize for people that, is going to be more on the business side. We're going to have a lot of discussions on the business side of things. I know VSP is such a polarizing topic for so many people, and there's a lot of reasons to not like them, and there's a lot of reasons to like them. I tell people all the time, I probably don't like VSP just as much as the rest of you, because I am affected in the same way that all of you are. But if I have to work with them, because their headquarters is 2 hours away, 1 in 3 adults in California are VSP members, it's very difficult to not. I'm not saying it's impossible. There are clearly a lot of practices out there that don't work with them, but it's extremely difficult not to. And if I have to work with them, I'm going to find the best way to make the most money from them. So that's my kind of my way I look at it. This slide right here, disclosures, obviously always very important to know what my biases are. Some of these will come into play in this lecture. So it's good for you to know who's paying me, who has me as a KOL or a speaker or consultant. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about optometry itself, right? So we're in this position right now where costs of goods are going up. I mean, we talk about this all the time, not just on ODs on Finance, but I'm sure to each other, to our staff. Costs of goods are going up. Inflation is at all-time high. Things are costing more and more. And when we look at where insurance is, to me, we haven't seen much movement there. The reimbursements are the same. They're not really going up. They're not really going down. They're mostly the same for the better part of a decade or more. And in a lot of cases, we're trying to struggle with how we move forward with this, because as I said, costs go up. So our instinct is to, in order to make more money, to generate more revenue, well, if our reimbursements aren't going up, we just need to see more patients, right? And that's the truth. When we have some of the discussions on ODs on Finance, how do I make a $1 million practice? How do I make a $2 million practice? Well, see more patients, right? That's one of the ways to do it. You see 50% more patients than you saw last year, you're going to make 50% more revenue. That's a way to do it. But we all know that that's not in particular the best way to do it, because as you start seeing more patients, you also have more added costs. You need more staff. You may be limited by the space you have. You may need to purchase more equipment and whatnot. So your revenue may go up, but your overhead goes up as well too. So you're essentially almost in the exact same spot you were before. Realizing that, my focus has been over the last few years, not just to see more patients. Obviously, that's important. You need to have a growing practice. But how do we make more revenue per patient, right? And I'm talking about overall revenue. I'm not talking about one eye exam. I'm talking about revenue as in the eye exam, materials, what other services we can provide, what other specialties we can tap into? How do we provide more? And just like, I've had these conversations with Aaron before too, where, just think about how we approach investments, right? Why don't I just take all my money and put it into Apple? I mean, it's a pretty good bet, right? Look how they've been performing over the last 10 to 20 years. Why do I need to learn about ETFs, index funds, and all these type of things? Why does that matter? I'll just throw into Apple. That's a guarantee, right? Well, it is and it isn't, because you need to diversify, right? Yes, you can put a lot of money in Apple and make a lot of money like that. But just in case, why don't you throw some money in a bunch of index funds, maybe put a little bit into Google, a little bit into Microsoft, all these different things where you have a diverse portfolio, because there's a lot of ways to make money, and you want to not only make that money, but you also want to protect yourself against any potential issues. So I always look at patient care like that. We don't just provide eye exams. That's one of the things we do. And while that's kind of our bread and butter and the thing that generates a lot of income, you do need to diversify and start thinking of other ways to increase your revenue per patient, not just make more money on an eye exam. Okay. So one of the case studies they always talk about in business was Starbucks. To me, we're going to go on a little story tangent here just because I want you to get into the right mindset. Okay. Starbucks here is probably one of the best examples of one of the companies that have really understood this concept and really learned how to pivot themselves over the last couple of decades. We all love Starbucks. I literally have Starbucks right here, that I'm drinking. Some of you may not be Starbucks people. You'll be Pete's. You'll be, some other local brand. Some of you just like your Keurigs or your Nespressos at home, or you just make it, you make your own in your French press. That's fine. But in particular, I just want to talk about Starbucks for a bit, because the way that they've transformed their business is one of the ways I want you to start thinking about your business and vision insurance. So in particular, I like lattes. It's what I like to drink in my local area, which is obviously the pricing is different everywhere. It's about $4.75 for just a regular latte. But when I go to Starbucks and I order that latte, they don't just go, okay, here's your latte. It's $4.75 plus tax, right? No, they go, actually, would you like any milk alternative with that? I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about it. You're right. What do you have? Soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, whatever, 2%, low fat, whatever, right? Different kinds. And then they go, you know what? Actually, a lot of people really like having some extra flavor in there too, like vanilla or hazelnut. Would you like to put a flavor shot in there? Like, oh yeah, vanilla latte. That sounds pretty good. So I go and order that. And essentially, I just turned my $4.75 latte. And this is, like I said, this is the exact price in my area, $4.75 to $7.25, just by them suggesting a couple of things, which I may or may not have gotten. But what they were managed to do, instead of just saying, well, I'm going to sell one cup of coffee to Will, they're like, well, we're going to sell one cup of coffee, but let's see where we can add it on and increase that revenue per consumer, per me, right? And the best thing too, which is something that they started doing about 15, 20 years ago, is that when you get to Starbucks and you finished your order for your drink, they don't just tell you, okay, it's $7.25, plus tax. Thank you for your order. They go, would you like something to eat? Which is a completely interesting concept, because I don't go to Starbucks to eat, but they, almost every single time you notice that their baristas are trained to say, and what would you like to eat with that? Oh, that's a good point. What do you have? Well, we have these egg bites. We have breakfast sandwiches. We have all these muffins. Those things add up to, $3, $4, $5 extra dollars, which, like I said, not everyone gets. But if you do, it's like, oh, that's kind of nice. Okay, yeah, you're right. I haven't eaten egg bites. Those sound pretty good. Let's, add another $4 or $5 there. And even at that point, when I go, all right, yeah, I got my drink, got my egg bites. Now I'm spending $10+ there. And then right before I leave, they go, well, thank you very much. Don't forget our lunch options for later today. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. They have protein boxes, they have salads, they have sandwiches. So in that one interaction, they managed to get, turn what I was about to spend $4.75 in to over $10. And they managed to plant something in my mind that, oh yeah, when during lunchtime, when I come back, I could come back and order lunch from them, right? And these little protein boxes and things, those cost $4 or maybe like $6, $7 each. And then when I'm there, they actually do the opposite approach. Oh, you picked up a protein box. Would you like a drink with that? Oh, yeah, I already had my coffee. Oh, we have a lot of iced teas, something more light and refreshing. Oh, good point. That's another $3, $4 that they just added to that, bringing me back again once up to that $8, $9, $10 range. And then they're really good also about, when you get that mid-afternoon kind of, I need that boost, that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour, It's like, all right, that's right. I can go back and get another coffee, something just to get a quick pick me up. At that point, they're trained to aim, push you more towards, okay, you got your coffee, and would you like a snack with that? Got K-Pops here, got blueberry muffins, all these type of things. And like I said, you're spending that $4, $5, $6, $7 on the drink, and then that $2 to $3 extra bucks on a food item, a snack item. And they'll even put in certain things like the K-Pops. Sometimes it's like, hey, buy two or buy one, get one half off. So it's not, don't just get one, get two. Hey, you don't want to eat two? Bring one back for a coworker or a friend. Like, that's a good point. So they've basically catered their entire experience, not just with the cup of coffee. That's where they started. And that's where you started. But they managed to basically transform the whole experience and make it so that you're not only spending more money per visit, but you're coming back more often. So actually, if you want to know the actual statistics, it blew my mind, but this is a true case study on Starbucks, is that their goal is to get you to spend $9 per interaction every time you visit. So even if you just came in for a simple cup of coffee, which is usually about $2 to $3, they're going to do everything they can to get you to $9 in that interaction. Not only that, their role is to get you to come back 3 times a day, 5 days a week. So instead of spending that $2 to $3 every once in a while and however much you spend per week, per month, per year, Starbucks did it the other way. They decided, we actually want you to spend $6,750 a year with us. And we don't care how you get there, but we're going to make sure you get there. And this is, by the way, not the ideal customer. This is their average customer. And a lot of you might be saying, that seems like a lot. You're not their average customer then, because there's a lot of people who do spend that much every single day. About $27, 3 different interactions, $9 each, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Because you're going on vacation, sometimes you don't drink coffee. So they don't count the 2 weeks. This is a true case study on the business of the Starbucks experience, which kind of blew my mind and helped shape me to understand, how do I do this? How do I bring this to my practice, right? We can do eye exams. We sell glasses, we sell contacts, we do other medical specialty type of things. But how do we bring it all together so there's a smooth, flawless experience where we're not just doing an eye exam, but we're creating a whole experience, providing more, and then as a byproduct, increase our total revenue per patient. And what that revenue per patient, that will depend on your own practice, right? All of our practices are not alike. One of the things that kind of set off this entire webinar to begin with is that my reimbursement for VSP is about $300 per patient. And that's the reimbursement that I get. That's not what I bill. This is the reimbursement the VSP writes that check for. This is after all of the chargebacks to the labs as well too. The patient portion that they pay for me is about $700. So I actually make just over $1,000 per patient. Now, that $700 part, I don't want to talk about too much today because that's very regional. Not every area can support where patients will pay you an average of $700 extra on top of everything. And that's why for a lot of people, they're like, I can't do that in rural Kansas. That's fine. So let's not focus on that $700 part the patient pays. Let's just focus on that VSP reimbursement part, the actual money that the insurance company gives you at the end, after everything's done and at the end of the day. And that number also may vary. So I don't want you to think of 300 in your mind as well either, because that doesn't really work that way. Insurance companies, and for the most part, are based off of cost of living. So it's very regional, although there are special rules. For instance, VSP for an eye exam, a comprehensive eye exam in my area in California, I get about $90. High cost of living, going to be much more than the rest of the country. However, my practice in Alaska, which is not as high of a cost of living, this is in Juneau, Alaska, they almost double, double that, which is insane. But that has to do with some of the regional politics in play and how much the state's involved in forcing VCPs to do certain things. So not always tied to cost of living, but I just don't want you to focus on the exact number 300 because that's my number. Whatever your number is, I'd rather you start using that as your baseline and basically say, let's try to get you to a point where you're making 20% more, 30% more than what you're making now. And that number may be 300 or maybe 250 or maybe 200, doesn't matter. Let's just get you making more because like I said, it's all going to be very, very regional and very, very specific to your practice. And I don't want to promise you that you all can get there, but I also know at the same time, some of you can surpass that because there were points last year where my revenue, my reimbursement per patient average was almost $400 at points. It varies quite a bit, right? Sometimes you just get a week where you have a lot of people who do exam only and that'll tank your reimbursements. So there's a lot of ways where you can make more money and make less, but don't focus on mine, focus on yours and let's figure out how to just move that up by, like I said, about 20, 30% and go from there. So let's go start talking about VSP again right here, because this is why you're all really here. So one of the most important things is that this patient summary, which is as soon as you pull an authorization from VSP, this is what gets pulled up. This is probably one of the most important things out there that you're probably not paying attention to. And this is one of the reasons why you don't understand why you're not making as much money. Because I know in a lot of practices, they don't even print this out. The doctor never gets a chance to look at it. The opticians do, of course, because they need to know how much money is on their frame allowance and what benefits are available. And I'm not saying that you need to really memorize this or understand this, but you at least need your staff to be able to tell you what's going on here. Because if you don't have eyes on this page, which is completely different for every single patient and every single employer, because there's hundreds of different signature plans and choice plans. If you don't have an idea what's going on here, then there's no way you can do this, because it's just impossible for you to understand every little thing. So in my practice, we do print this out. I do have, they do include it. We have our little clipboards, patient signs in a welcome sheet. They put that on top, put this underneath. And either the day before or the morning of, I have a certain staff member highlight, circle certain things in red so that within a 2-second glance, when I flip the welcome page over and I look, I can tell exactly which specific benefits this patient has, which we can take advantage of as a business, right? So this is one of those things where not every patient has every benefit, but when you recognize that they have certain benefits, some of them to me, which are literal gold mines out there, you have to be able to take advantage of it, right? You have to be able to know when those right moments are. It's like playing blackjack. You got to know when the split versus double. It's like if you don't have any information, you don't know when to do it, you're never going to make that money. Okay, so big part of this is, like I said, as a doctor, as an owner, or as an associate, doesn't matter where you are, but as a provider, you need to be able to understand where everyone's kind of summary sheet is. And like I said, we don't necessarily need to talk about the specific, you don't need to know the exact frame allowance and exact copays. That's not your job to know that, but your job is to know which type of benefits are there. And one of the easiest ones I can tell you that everyone misses all the time is something called computer vision care. This is its own little separate benefit that's not actually on this page. But when you pull up the patient's information on Eyefinity, you'll see that sometimes they'll have signature or choice. And then some people have that second pair plan, which is always kind of nice. And every once in a while, somebody has something called a CVC plan. And when you see that CVC plan, you're thinking, okay, it's not every company has it, but when you see it, it's one of those plans that essentially allows them to have an extra pair of glasses that's just for computer purposes. So it can be a computer single vision, it can be a near variable focus lens. It doesn't matter, but it has to be for computer purposes only. Cannot use it for distance vision and whatnot. A lot of people look at this and they just think, okay, well, it's just an extra pair of glasses, right? I mean, some people get it, some people don't, especially the last couple of years. A lot more people have gotten computer glasses. So it's great if they have this benefit. But a lot of people miss the fact that this benefit, if you look right in the middle there, actually also has exam benefits. What does that mean? Well, the good news is if you just do a few extra tests, because this is the criteria right here, you basically need two out of three different binocular vision assessments, which, by the way, most people are already probably doing, and then at least 2 out of 3 of different accommodative function testing, which, like I said, some of you may be doing already. If you aren't doing it, it'd probably take you a whole 30 seconds to a minute to gather this information. And what happens is you put a diagnosis code, any of these that are on here, typical refractive diagnosis codes. Please note that there is no myopia in here. So that one can get people mess up on this all the time. So what you're billing is you're billing the exam again. So you have their signature plan where you build 92014, 92015, right? Done. And then you pull this authorization and you can actually bill it again, 92014, 92015, and you can do it on the same day if you want to as well too. You don't have to wait for them to come back. So you have those CPT codes, the diagnosis codes are any of these here. Like I said, there's no myopia, so you have to watch out for that. So if they were a -1 OU, no astigmatism, and you gave them -50 in both eyes, you can't bill myopia in that sense, which is kind of, I know a lot of you thinking, wait, but they have myopia and it's not on the list. They don't have astigmatism. They don't have presbyopia. What am I supposed to put? Well, in this case, you're allowed to put a disorder of accommodation as that option as well too. Okay, so even though it's just for computer, I know it's not quite full, but that's kind of the closest that they want you to just use instead. So really not too hard to code. Like I said, using the same ones, 92014, 92015, and you actually get paid 30% more if it's on the same day. So as I said, I'm getting paid about $90. Everyone's different. I get an extra 30% for an exam fee. So it'll be 2 line items. So I get my 90, and then when I bill it the second time on a different authorization, because the CVC authorization, I'm going to get about $30. That's it. I just added an extra $30 to my 30% to my comprehensive eye exam for basically, like I said, stuff I'm doing anyways, or about 30 seconds more additional work to do a little bit of binocular and accommodative testing. You can do it on a different day. So a patient comes back and they're like, oh, I need a computer glasses, or, we didn't talk about that. Then you get paid a little bit more. I like just getting it over with the same day, because when they come back, that's more chair time. Yes, you get paid a little bit more, but I'd rather just get it all done within the same exam. So I almost always, when I see that they have this plan, we're going to talk about computer vision. I'm going to give them a computer prescription, and I'm going to bill both on the same day. So I get my 120 from VSP rather than $90. And like I said, relative, whatever your number is, add 30% to that every single time you see this, great deal. But how many times do you not see it or not notice it, or you just didn't know that CVC had these extra exam benefits? And this is what I mean. You need to understand what's going on. And if your optician, your tech, whoever checks in the patient didn't indicate to you that they had this plan, how did you know to do it? So this is why you really need to be as informed as possible and pay attention to when they have certain benefits and certain plans like this. This one here was alluded to with a few people. I don't really try to hide this part, because this is, to me, when you want to know where you can make the most money, this by far it's insane that this even exists. Because the way we understand billing and coding at a very fundamental level is one code, one price, right? We're not allowed to change pricing between private versus insurance. Every single code has to be priced the same and has to be consistent across the board, right? Whether it's comprehensive eye exam, OCT, fundus, whatever. But there's only one code out there where we're actually allowed to get away with variable pricing. And this kind of blows my mind that they even allow this, but they understand that we practice so differently that they have to allow it. And the fact that there's no modifiers allowed or needed kind of blows my mind as well too. And when you think of the 92310 code, right? That's our contact lens fitting code. We don't just have one price. We have new versus established. We have sphere versus toric versus multifocal, right? Sometimes we use some of the specialty fits for this as well, although some of those all have their own contact lens fitting code. But when you look at the 92310 code, you're thinking, wait, you're telling me I can have whatever pricing, and it can be different amongst VSP versus or vision plans versus private? Yes, because they know we all have different criteria, and there's no multiple modifiers or codes for this. Like I said, new versus established, sphere versus toric versus multifocal. It's all the same code. So when you specifically find this plan right here, and like I said, a lot of people know about this, but they also don't understand it in the right way. Oftentimes you'll see that contact lens exam and contacts combined as one, and you just get one set allowance, 120, 150, whatever, and you can apply it towards the contact lens fit or the materials. When you see it separated out like this, which is, by the way, in about 25% of plans out there, and it's not specific to some in our area that are, like, say, high tech plans or premium tech plans. No, I've been all over the country, and I've told people, you don't think this exists? Pull 10 of your next VSP on your schedule right now, 10 of your upcoming VSP patients, and we found about 2, 3, 4 of those patients had this specific separation in the contact lens exam versus materials. So it's clearly not something that just happens in premium tech areas. But like I said, it gets missed a lot because we don't think about it a lot. A lot of people sometimes refer to this as the $60 copay plan, but it's not always 60. So I don't want you to I don't like that name, because if it sticks with you, this patient in particular, by the way, I'm using the same patient throughout the whole time. She only has a $10 copay for this, which is great for her. Great for me too. But the idea is, like I said, you may refer to people call it a $60 copay plan. The way this works is whatever patient pays, whatever the copay amount, in this case, $10, like I said, most of the time it's $60. You don't just take that money and move on. That's the mistake people make. They're thinking, okay, I just hit whatever. I can't make more than $60 on this. This plan is stupid. I hate this plan. No, you're doing it wrong. Patient pays the $60. You still bill VSP for the rest. And they will pay you the rest, less 15%, because that's the write-off you're supposed to do, minus the copay. So in particular, those of you who have $100 fee for your fitting, we'll take 15%, go down to 85. Patient pays $60 of that. The other $25 is what VSP pays you. And that's if you build 100. What if you build it at 200? Because that's your fee. What if you build it at 500? Because that's your fee. My price, by the way, I made it very clear that with the high level of contact lens that I do, I'm one of the top multifocal practices in the area. We do one of the highest number of soft contact lenses, and we had to do a lot of advanced fitting that when other practices in the area have difficulty, we charge $550 flat. That's for sphere, toric, multifocal. We don't differentiate. My time is my time, because I promise you I can do a multifocal just as fast as a sphere, but that doesn't mean I'm not getting paid. I'm getting paid the same. So I do the flat fee myself. You all don't have to do that, but I do it consistently across the board, vision care and for private pay. And I do get a lot of private pay people that pay that amount. So for me, $550 minus 15% minus $60, that means I get $400+ every single contact lens patient that I see this on, which, like I said, about 25% of your patients or so. So your number is your number. Like I said, it has to be something that's reasonable, because you want to be able to make sure that your private pay patients can be just as good, and that you don't price them out. But at the same time, maybe it's okay to price them out, because you also think about the fact that when you're making more money in these type of situations, if you're charging $100 or $150, how many of these patients, how many fits do you have to see before you make up the same amount as if you charge 4 or 5 times as much and get paid, by the way, from VSP? Because I don't care where the money comes from, whether the patient pays or VSP pays, that's still the same money in my bank, right? So this is, to me, one of the biggest things. Now, and I've asked VSP about this. I'm like, how does this work? It can't be this good. I've talked to multiple people at different levels of their claims department, different auditors, all these different things. And they say, yeah, there's just no way for us to regulate this, because you all practice so differently and your prices are so different. We can't come up with a system. So what we're going to do is, if we audit you, we're going to ask specifically, what's your guideline? So if you do have variable pricing, you have to, why is one $50 versus 75 versus 100? You have to have very clear guidelines so that there's no question about how you determine which category to put them in. And as long as they will ask for it, and they will go review it, and then they will look at your patients and how you build, and to make sure that it's consistent. But I asked them, like, how can there be no limit? Because, like I said, you're telling me you'll pay me if I charge 500 while somebody else has charged 100. Like, that's a lot. They're like, well, if that's your fee, that's your fee. We can't tell you what to charge, right? And because it's such a huge range, there's literally nothing we can do about it. If you charge more, as long as you can prove that you're consistent across the board. I'm like, okay. So truthfully, and I asked this question to them, I'm like, what if I build $1 million, right? Like, what if I just, like, this is my fee. I'm a brand new practice. There's no history. You can't say I didn't do it before. And I just built $1 million for my contact lens fitting fee. You're telling me you would go $1 million minus 15%, that's $850,000 minus $60 copay. So you would reimburse me $849,000, $849,940. And they said yes. And then we would audit you immediately, and we'd probably, just find a way to get that money back, or we'd kick you out of VSP. But you would get to keep the money. So I was thinking, wow, I should just do that one time and just do like $5 million, $10 million, whatever. Who cares if I get kicked off VSP? I'll just, retire or something. But yeah, I mean, that's an extreme. That's the truth. That's what they told me, and I'm definitely not advocating that you do this, but I want you to understand how ridiculous that this benefit is when you see it on a patient, that literally the sky's the limit here. And while I don't encourage that you push that limit, I just want you to understand the missed opportunity for those of you who are not. All right. The one thing with this in particular, some of you that may not believe that this is possible, this is one of the benefits of this right here. And this is something that was changed. If you look in the VSP manual, there are some exclusions or certain types of fits that aren't allowed. And if you look right now, it says corneal refractive therapy, orthokeratology, and contact lenses for myopia management. So you can't, for all your myopia management patients, which we sometimes charge $2,000 to $3,000 for, you cannot use this $60 copay benefit. But I will tell you, this was added in April of 2020. That was less than a year ago. So I am telling you that before April of 2020, I was billing VSP for this $60 copay for all of my myopia management patients, and they were paying me $2,000 to $3,000 every single time without question. This is 100% true. And they basically decided, as myopia management got more popular, that it's going to be too expensive. So they put a specific exclusion. And I will say the specific exclusion that they brought in April 2020, that was that myopia contact lens for myopia management section. So they actually originally closed it off and they just prohibited orthokeratology, but you could still do soft contact lenses. So MiSight and Natural View and any other multifocal that you used for myopia management was still allowed, and that was that was the part that was discontinued in April 2020. Like I said, less than a year ago, all of you could have been billing under the $60 copay for all of your myopia patients. They pay $60, VSP reimburses you $2,000+ all day, every day. So they've changed that rule since then. So can't do this part particularly anymore because it specifically prohibits it. And I have gotten in a little trouble because I didn't know they didn't announce that date. So I did do a few of these the summer of 2020, and they basically said, yeah, sorry, we changed the rule. You didn't know, we didn't tell you, so we're not going to punish you for it. We're just going to take back that money that for your myopia patients that you did last summer, but we're not going to fine you or anything on top of that. So this is where I want you to understand how ridiculous this code can be. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a way. And if for those of you who know Justin Kwan, he's an amazing guy. I don't know if he's in the audience. One of the smartest, sharpest lecturers I know. He does a lot of research on myopia management. I literally, whenever I see his name and myopia, I'm attending that lecture. I don't care because I've probably seen him 5 or 6 times in the last 2 years. And he doesn't just reuse the same lecture. He keeps updating it with his new research that he finds out. And one of the things he talks about, he's also working on a way to get this at least partially covered, maybe not completely covered like it was before, but partially covered. And he has some pretty creative methods as well too. I'm working on some of this stuff as well too. So I haven't quite managed to do it yet. There's some ideas I have, but I haven't fully tested them. So I don't want to mention them because I don't want anyone to get in trouble. I always try to do stuff myself first and do it for a good amount of time before I present anything, because I have to know that it's tried and true before I'm sharing it with other people. So that's just to give you an idea how crazy this benefit is. Now, some of you might ask, so what should I do? Like, what should my number be? What's for my fitting? I can't tell you do that. And we're not going to discuss that because that would definitely be a lot of price fixing and colluding type of situations. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you some hints in a moment. But before that, I'm going to get into another story here. This is one of my favorite stories to share with a lot of people. This is not my original story. This is a modified story from Scott Morse. If you ever attend any of his lectures on practice management or billing and coding, he is a genius. So this is his story that he mentioned, which I like so much that I don't want to say I copied it, but it inspired my version of the story, which is going to be slightly different. So once again, trying to get you all in the right mindset, just like with the Starbucks case study. Now, I want you to imagine that, it's the early 1990s. You and your family decide to open up a restaurant, and the type of restaurant you're like, I love steaks. Prime rib is my favorite cut. We're going to sell other stuff, but the focus of our restaurant is going to be the prime rib, and we're going to have a prime rib special. We're going to have a nice thick cut prime rib, sides, and a beer, $20. That's going to be the special that we have every day. It's going to be the highlight of our restaurant. And it worked out pretty well. Everyone in the local area loves it. People drive, an hour to come get it because it's such a good deal, and the quality is good because you're amazing at what you do. Now, fast forward 20 years later, where we are at now, costs are going up, right? Inflation, all these type of things. But for the whole 20 plus years, you're like, no, our prime rib special that's our thing. It's going to be $20 no matter what, right? It's the Costco chicken, it's the Costco hot dog. We're not changing our prices no matter what. I don't care how unprofitable it's becoming. That's what we were built on. That's what we were known for, and we're going to keep it the same. But let's say your spouse or one of your manager, your one of your chefs just decide to say, hey, look, let's just pull everybody for the next 2 or 3 months. Let's just pull everyone and just say, what if we raised our price to $60, right? Go from 20 to 60, significant price increase. How many of you would still get it consistently without question? And 50% of those people responded after you did the big survey and said, $60, it's still a steal. A big fat slice of prime rib, sides, and a beer included. Oh, I'll still do that all day, every day. How many of you would change your price from 20 to 60? We don't have a poll for this one, so it doesn't have to be official. This can be a more rhetorical in mind. But how many of you would truly, like I said, you don't have to answer. You can if you want in the chat, but how many of you truly would say, I'm going to move it up to $60? Because when we ask these questions, and when I do this all around the country and I ask this, I would say 80% of people in the audience typically say, I'm not changing my price. I just told you that you could triple your prices and you lose half of your customers. You're still a huge net positive overall. But 80% of you would say, not going to do it. I want you to think about that. So from a healthcare point of view, from an access point of view, I get it. And that's why I said this presentation in particular, it's not about that. We're not talking about that today. That's a different discussion. We're talking about just the business side, the revenue generation. From a revenue generation point of view, you could have increased your revenue overnight by 50%, seeing half as many people, which means you're working smarter, not harder. And 80% of you, knowing that in a very simple scenario, still wouldn't do it. That's something you really need to understand, is that we do need to increase our prices. There's a lot of ways we can do it. Contact lens fitting is one of the easiest ones because there's no cap on the reimbursement there. And that's one of the things you need to understand, because when a lot of you, when I go around the country, it's like, what's your contact lens fitting price? $30, $25, $40, $50. Okay, maybe those are the fits where it's like, I'm not changing anything, same, but cool. What if it's a new fit? Sphere, toric, multifocal, brand new. $80, $100, $120. I'm like, well, I don't want to price myself out. I get it, right? you can have those arguments all day. Certain areas are tougher than others, but like I said, when you have the opportunity to see less patients in this, you can still see them for the exam and just have them do contacts somewhere else, right? People do that all the time. They don't necessarily get it in the same place, but the fact that you can make so much more money seeing less patients in this regard also reduces your liability as well too. To me, that's a no-brainer. So I like to shoot high, but there is a minimum, so to speak, that I suggest, but I can't really suggest, because once again, we don't want to get into that price fixing, colluding type of situation. And for you to understand where to go, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is going to be necessary contact lenses. And there's actually two different criteria for this that you need to understand. There's the medically necessary contact lenses and there's the visually necessary contact lenses, which we don't normally separate, and a lot of insurance companies don't normally separate, but VSP kind of does. So you need to understand what the two different definitions are. First being, for anybody who's visually necessary, well, let's go up. These are the type of criteria we've probably seen all the time, right? An ISO, 3 or more diopters in any meridian. High prescriptions, plus minus 10 in any meridian, including any type of astigmatism. And nystagmus, that's a pretty common qualifier for necessary contact lenses. So this is what this is what's considered the visually necessary, not the medically, the visually necessary contact lenses. And when you go into the reimbursements for it, yes, it's difficult to understand. I basically highlighted right there is for daily disposables, sphere, toric, multifocal. Right? 1, 2, 3, sphere, toric, multifocal. So when I ask you, when we're talking about not the premium daily disposables, everyone prices everything differently. So I'm not going to, if I'm a little off here with your practice, don't be mad at me. But the idea is for our kind of value-based, introductory level, standard daily disposables, how much do we usually charge? Depending if you follow any type of guides, like your distributor probably has price lists, that recommend price lists. You have your own that you calculate. Then you have the ones that the manufacturers recommend as well too. Typically, those will we usually charge a patient about $500, right, for a year's supply, and then they get rebates and all that kind of stuff too. So this is for a sphere, a daily disposable sphere, value level, standard level, introductory level, whatever you want to call it. So if you are charging about $500 for a year's supply, and VSP is willing to give you $750 maximum reimbursement, how much should you be charging for your fit? I'm not going to tell you, but I'm trying to make this very simple because I don't want a record of me telling you what to fit your prices are. But you understand what I mean? When you charge $100 for your fit and you sell a contact lens for $500 for an annual supply, you just left $150 on the table that they would have given you for free without questions asking, right? So do you understand what I'm trying to get at here? Simple math here. You charge about $500, maybe you charge $550, maybe you charge $450, I don't care. But you understand that this is the max that they want to be able to give you in a situation where it has to do with visually necessary contact lenses, right? That's how much you should be charging for a new fit or whatever you want to call it. Some people call it new fit. We all call it different things. I've heard people say new fits, refits, whatever, right? That's how much you should be charging. And it also allows you to put people into more different lenses and try out different lenses all the time when you know you can hit this. Now, a lot of people might be saying, well, that's fine for my necessary contact lens patients. Not everyone is, right? These are the criteria. No. These are the criteria that you commonly know because these are the ones we always talk about. But when you actually look on the manual, these are the criteria that allow for necessary contact lenses. When you look through all of these different ones here, a lot of them are, corneal dystrophies, corneal opacities, all these type of things, everything corneal related, of course. And in this particular case, we kind of look towards what's called necessary, and this is where we lean more towards the medically necessary side, not the visually necessary side. But all of these different criteria, you're allowed to bill as diagnosis, which would authorize you to hit that necessary contact lens criteria, right? And this one in particular, this was not my idea as well too. This was actually discussed at GSLS, which by the way, amazing conference. They just had it live for the first time a week ago actually. And it's one of the best. And the discussions are very high level. And it's in Vegas, which is always fun. I'm in Vegas right now for those of you who don't know. So yeah, I love going there. So any excuse for me to go is always great. But GSLS is great. This was not the most recent GSLS. This was discussed in 2020 or 2019. I think before whatever the last one was before the pandemic. I forget if it was, I think it was 2020 because I don't think the things had hit quite yet. But either way, it was an idea. This was discussed in length that a lot of our patients who may have may qualify for medically necessary that we don't realize because we're just thinking of keratoconus. We're thinking of, and like you said, all the NISO, the high myopes, high hyperopes. We're thinking like ectasias and all these type of things. But this particular code right here, the H17.89, other corneal scars and opacities. What does that actually mean? Well, it's other. Well, what's other? And it's kind of like saying unspecified, right? Except we don't like to code unspecified. That's a red flag if we code unspecified too much. So it's never recommended by any type of people. So all that stuff on the right column there, where it's those 6 or 7 that are unspecified, never do those because that's a red flag. You're going to get audited and basically being asked, why couldn't you specify further? But for the other is not bad. Other doesn't mean other, just means it doesn't fit into any other definition that you can think of. So when you have other scars and opacities, that's a quite broad term for you to call any type of scar or opacity you see on their eye, which can be caused by a lot of different things, right? We definitely see a lot of patients who don't, particularly our contact lens patients, who abuse their lenses a bit, and they have a little bits of peripheral scars and opacities. One in particular that, and this, like I said, this was discussed at GSLS. What's the one elective type of situation where patients actually put a scar on their eye? LASIK, right? RK for some of the older ones, not PRK. There's no scar in PRK, but LASIK. So can you imagine that every single one of your LASIK patients are now qualified under medically necessary contact lenses because they have a other scar or opacity on their eye? And you might be saying, well, they got LASIK. Why would they wear contacts? Because sometimes LASIK doesn't last, right? So you can imagine someone who's wearing glasses or contacts before they got LASIK, 8 years later, they're like, oh man, I'm starting to notice I can't see so well. That sucks. It was a good run, and they can go back to the surgeon and get a touch up, right? Depending on what kind of warranties and policies are available with the surgeon. But for those who don't want to get another surgery, or those who don't qualify within to get a touch up or enhancement, you are now for the rest of your life a medically necessary contact lens patient, which means, yeah, it sucks that your LASIK didn't last, but you get free contact lenses pretty much forever. You just pay that, $10 copay, $25 copay, whatever. And you get a year supply, and they pay my fitting fee. See what I mean? So there's a lot more ways. That's just one of the examples. And like I said, this was talked about extensively at GSLS. This is one of the ways that you really understand. You're thinking, I might see one necessary contact lens patient a week or every other week. It's like, no, there's a lot more of them than you think. You're just not thinking about it in the right way. Like I said, look at this entire page right here of all these different things that you didn't even realize it probably existed because you were thinking about this. So now you understand why it's important to get that fit fee up, because you really need to hit some of the qualifiers. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful, because I said the medically necessary versus the visually necessary, their reimbursements, they don't scale it in the same way. So you do want to avoid some of the more expensive lenses there, or the more expensive types of fitting, because it's basically just $800 max cap. Right there, once again, there's other ways we can get around this too, but I'm not going to get into it, because if I go too advanced for these type of things, you're going to get lost. Start at the basics. We can always come back and I can teach you how to get that number even higher. Okay, so next topic here. Like I said, we're going to just go through them. I know I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's just a few things I need you to understand. And that's this next part is the essential medical eye care. Okay, a lot of you are going to get into the comments right now here or on the forums later, like VSP shouldn't be in medical. No, there needs to be separation, church and state, blah, 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 all this stuff. I don't care. Like I said, different conversation, be mad later. I don't care. Right now, this is a real thing that they have. I get it. We've been arguing about this for 20 years. VSP should not be getting into medical. There's no way. Vision is vision, medical, don't care. Okay. This used to be something called primary eye care or diabetic eye care plus, which a lot of our patients have it. If I go back to the same patient, she had it as well here towards the bottom, diabetic eye care plus program, right? A lot of these patients have it. Primary eye care, about 15 to 20% of patients had it. Diabetic eye care plus, about 50 to 60% of your patients had it before. Since December 1st of 2020, they've renamed the program and they've combined them together. There's no separation, although some of the plans may still say it, like this one that I pulled recently. They may still say it, but it's rebranded as Essential Medical Eye Care, and it acts like primary eye care, which means that you can use it for anything medically related to the eye. And this is on their manual, so you can see these are just examples, and they said this is what you can use it for, but it's not limited to this. And if you look at it, almost every single medical ocular CPT code is available here. So like I said, now since they combined it, now about 60 to 80% of your patients probably have this benefit. And sometimes you can call it in and ask them if you don't see it specifically on the plan. Yeah, it requires a little bit more work because you can't just go on Eyefinity and pull it, but you're basically talking about having medical benefits for every single one of your VSP patients. Like I said, I know you all hate it. You're all mad at me for even saying it or suggesting it because VSP shouldn't be medical. I'm going to say it again because I'm going to get a lot of hate on this, but this is the truth. They have these benefits. Guess what? You're not supposed to be using this as their primary. So if you are on the panel for their primary medical, you're supposed to bill that first, but you can use Essential Medical Eye Care as the secondary. So whatever the primary doesn't pay, you do the coordination of benefits, and it becomes a secondary to help the patient pay the rest of whatever's not covered. Okay, so that'll help you out. Don't use it as a primary, use it as a secondary. However, if you're not on their medical panel, or if, for instance, the patient has HMO, in my area, there's a system called Kaiser, which is very popular. A lot of patients have it. Another one called Sutter Health or Palo Alto Medical Foundation, also an HMO system. Well, I can't see them under that medical, and there's no way they'd ever let me do it, and they can't even really do out of network very well. So this is prime for all of you in those areas that have very powerful HMOs, because now you can see them for the medical eye care that you would lose them to the HMO system. So this is why, to me, this is very powerful, but of course, it's going to be very regional as well too. But imagine that every single one of your patients, basically, you can see them for medical, bill VSP. Best part of it is there's not really a lot of copays. This is what makes it so special, because we hate fighting patients on copays. They get so mad because they think that we're the ones that are making them pay when it's the insurance companies. Well, for this particular plan, Essential Medical Eye Care, the copay is only required for the exam itself. Usually it's typically about $20. Sometimes it's $5 or $10, but typically about $20 for the 99 or the 92 code for the exam. Everything else does not require copay. As in, if I see a patient who's a glaucoma suspect, I can just have them come back, and yeah, they pay $20 for the exam if I need to see them, but otherwise I can just have them come back just for testing, as in they can do OCT, fundus, visual fields. They pay nothing, and VSP reimburses me 100% of the Medicare rate. So they base it off of Medicare, which is obviously going to be regional. It's going to be based off of, cost of living, all this stuff, as we talked about before. Okay, and I'm going to give you the link right here. This is where I just posted it right now on the chat. That's the CMS page. This is how I look up things. Basically, go in there, click on it, and basically it'll look something like this, the fee schedule. I always make sure you're in the right year. It should default to this year. The HCPCS code, that's where you want to put the code, OCT 92133, 92134, whatever, Fundus 92250, whatever. Make sure you do on the very bottom that MAC option, specify locality, and put your area. And for some areas, it might be the entire state. For some areas, from some states like California and Texas, which are huge, they specify by county or region. But basically, that'll give you the most accurate, or as close as possible to the accurate amount of reimbursement you're going to get from Medicare, which is exactly what VSP is going to give you. Okay, so, and you look at the non-facility price or non-facility reimbursement. But basically, this is what to me is very powerful, because you're at this point here. I get it. You're like, I don't want to do medical with VSP. It's not right. It just feels wrong. Cool. We're not talking about that today. The fact is, like I said, that you can do every single ancillary testing with no copay, no deductible, no prior authorizations. You can just do it. And there's certain rules that they allow that some other insurances don't, which is if I wanted to do OCT of retina and of optic nerve head on the same day, I can. So some insurances don't allow you to do certain things like that. I like to be able to get both information right away. But like I said, the copay only applies for the exam itself. Everything else can be billed. No copay is required, which means as long as if they don't need to see you, if you don't need to talk to them, then you can have them come back for everything and you get paid 100% of the Medicare rate. Patient pays zero. So when you talk about compliance with patients, we always run into this argument. So I'm going to get into it a little bit, where it's like patient comes in for a vision exam and I find glaucoma suspect. And then now I have to convert that from a vision exam to a medical exam. Patient's mad because they wanted to use their vision. But I'm like, I'm seeing a medical issue. I have to do medical things and we have to you have to come back for your vision. No, don't have to do that anymore. All right. Or at least not in that way. You can bill some of this stuff the same day. You can't do a medical exam and a comprehensive eye exam on the same day, but you can do the ancillary testing. So typically this is a very common situation in my practice. You come in for your comprehensive eye exam for vision. I come in, take a look. Hey, your nerves look a little bit, suspicious. They're like 0.5s or so, suspect. Everything else looks good, but I want to just do a few more tests just to either double check or establish baselines. Before you leave today, the tech's going to take you and we're going to run a special test called the OCT on your retina and your macula. So I'm on that same day, I'm billing the vision exam, the signature plan, and I'm pulling this essential medical eye care, and I'm getting the OCT information that same day, and I'm getting paid for all of it. And then I usually tell them, but you know what? This is more of a medical issue. So I'm going to need you to come back so that we can run a few more tests, because I don't want to keep you forever. Like, you're already here for a vision exam, and you're probably going to spend time in the optical. But so I'm just going to have you do 2 quick tests before you leave. That's the OCTs. And when you come back in a week or two to pick up your glasses, instead of just coming in and picking them up, let's schedule 15 minutes for me to just double check all the stuff. I'll have you take a few more tests, and then we can sit and talk about what it means. So on the dispense for the glasses, because they're coming back anyways, have them schedule their medical there, which you can use essential medical eye care, $20 copay. But guess what? Come in 15 minutes early, because I'm going to have you do fundus photos, because I don't have them do fundus the day of, because I already got the Optimap screening there. So they paid cash for that. So I don't need fundus on the day of, but I'll have them come back in 1 or 2 weeks to do fundus, so I can bill that, and visual field, because that takes a while and they're probably tired if I try to do it on the same day. So I'll have them come back, set aside, come in 15 minutes early, get those tests done, and then come in for the medical, and we'll talk about everything together, the visual field, the fundus, the 2 OCTs they took the week or 2 before, and then I'll do also IOP, gonio, and whatever, and then bill all those and get the medical, and they pay $20 for that at most. Like I said, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10, everyone's different. So now I found a way, instead of trying to do vision or medical, I hate making that decision. Patients going to get mad at me if I make the wrong decision. Now I just did both. And I did it with their VSP. Patients can't be mad at me because I did what they wanted. I got them their vision first, but I had them come back because they have to come back anyways to pick up their glasses. So I turned that into a medical exam, ran a few more tests, talked to them about medical. Now I look like an all-star because I helped them visually, I helped them medically. I did every test I needed to do. I got paid for every single one of them, and I got the patient exactly what they wanted and all the stuff I wanted as a provider. You see why this is such a powerful thing? So I get it. Like I said, if you can do it with their standard medical insurance, do that, because that's what you're supposed to do anyways. That's their primary. The VSP should be treated as a secondary in that case. But if you cannot, you are not on the panel for the medical, which in a lot of states, in a lot of areas, we're not allowed to be on a lot of these things. Or if they're an HMO system, perfect. You know what? Let's just do it with VSP. Simple. No chasing down any type of payments. You already know exactly what you get. And you get it within 2 weeks because they pay you every 2 weeks. So this is very powerful. And like I said, a lot of people are not going to be happy about this because they really, really are stuck on that situation that it needs to be separated and that VSP should not be involved in medical. I get it. We can have that discussion later all day long. I agree with you in a lot of ways, but as much as what we're doing right now, you got to be able to take advantage of these benefits that they have. So don't leave this money on the table. Don't not get this information as a provider, and don't not take care of your patient in the right way because they have these type of benefits. And you need to know, like I said, walking in to every exam, which patients have these type of benefits, which don't, right? Because it really, not to say it should change how you provide, because you should always provide to all your patients at the highest level, no matter what kind of insurance they have. But at the same time, when you know there's more flexibility in what they can do and where and what you're allowed to do and how you can, like I said, help the patient in the best way, but while maximizing your reimbursements, why aren't we doing that? Okay. And just to give you an idea too, with this essential medical eye care, there's so many creative things you can do with it, because you start realizing that the rules completely change when you're allowed to utilize VSP for medical. And like I said, let's not have that argument right now, but here's one of my biggest examples right here. And this is one I like to talk to a lot of people about. As I mentioned in my first, in the disclosure slide, I speak for Bausch & Lomb. I'm one of their more top speakers from 2021, or at least most utilized anyways. And one of the things I like to talk about, not just the product, but how it applies to you and how you're able to take advantage of it. And one of the things that, particularly with this VSP essential medical eye care, like I said before, when it was called primary eye care, this code right here, 92071, a lot of you may recognize that code as, we call it the bandage contact lens code, right? Bandage contact lens, they have some kind of corneal erosion, some abrasion, you slap a bandage on there, it's fine. So we bill medically or wherever we can. It's not a bandage contact lens code. We just call it that because that's typically what we use it for. If you look at the definition of it, it's fitting of contact lens for treatment of ocular surface disease, right? And look at the diagnosis that are allowed to be doing for it. As simple as punctate keratitis. Which contact lens patient doesn't have SPK, right? And then if you look at the very bottom, it does say you need to provide a location modifier. So when you utilize this code, 2 line items, 92071 LT, 92071 RT, right? And in this particular case, is there a contact lens out there that has studies and is FDA approved to not only be utilized as a contact lens, but actually treats ocular surface disease? There's only one so far. And I know there's every other manufacturer is working on all these other ones, and that's going to be the infused lens. And that's why I said, like I said, take it how you want to. Disclosures, I do work for them. And this is something I talk about that's separate from the lectures I do with them, because it's something I figured out. So it's not something that they endorse. This is all me here. Is that every single time you fit this lens, you have your patients that have primary eye care or essential medical eye care, you can bill this medically on the same day as your comprehensive eye exam and get paid about $90 more just for fitting this lens, because they have ocular surface disease. Every patient has, I should say, 80-90% of patients out there have ocular surface disease, depending on which study that you listen to. And there's only one lens out there that has properties, it has electrolytes, moisturizers, osmoprotectants, all these different properties embedded within the matrix of the lens and within the little solution that's in the blister packs that actually stabilizes the tear film. See what I mean? So you can become creative when you start utilizing some of this essential medical eye care stuff, because you start understanding that you can start building pieces together, putting together this puzzle, which can be solved in 1,000 different ways, but you can start putting together things that you never realized before and start increasing your reimbursement. Am I putting everybody into an infused lens? No, it's Sphere. I have a lot of toric and multifocal patients too, and sometimes it's just not good enough for them. But for the purposes of the times that I do, where I'm utilizing it for their, and they love it for the comfort and vision, but also helps to stabilize the tear film, I can bill 92071 right eye, left eye, and basically get paid an extra $90 from VSP every single time I fit this lens. Which, by the way, I can also do this on the follow-ups as well too, because just like a bandage lens, we just don't bill it the first time we do it. If they come back and we, for a follow-up, and we remove the lens, we take a look, still has some SPK or other type of dry eye related issues, you throw another one on there, you can rebill it again, just like we do with bandage lenses. So stuff like this, and like I said, you can be very creative with this kind of stuff. And there's not just this one criteria. Like I said, I just want to show you an example. We can do a whole 2-hour lecture on just essential medical eye care and all the different things I've found that we've been able to do. This is just one of the ones I wanted to show you how quick and easy it is to do something that you're probably already doing if you're fitting this lens, and that you could have been paid an extra $80, $90 every single time you put an infused lens by the insurance company, $0 copay for the patient, no deductible, no prior authorization. That's a pretty good deal for me. So getting towards the end here, I know a lot of people are always worried, okay, audits, right? So you can do whatever you want until you get caught, right? That's kind of how it works, right? There's no such thing as speed limit. I can drive 100. If the cop never pulls me over, that's my speed limit. So a lot of you might be worried some of the stuff we talked about. It's like, you say that, and, but I feel like if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. I can't promise you won't get audited because, number one, what the ways they choose to audit people, they don't tell us how. I just know that there's 2 types of audits. One that's what they call random audits, which I had one last year. Basically, they just come in, they just email you typically and say, send us 15 to 25 charts. And this one's more to make sure you're charting correctly, right? We want to make sure you have complete charts, that you're writing the right notes. It makes sense to an outsider. And people get dinged on not charting correctly or completely. That one's a random one, happens to us every once in a while. Some people get it a lot. Some people go years without ever getting it. Some people have whole careers without ever getting it. That one I can't do anything about because it's literally random. The other kind, the targeted one, that's the one you want to be a little bit careful about. And this is why I said, don't try to do things at my level yet. I'm giving you a lot of information for you to start getting in the right mindset so that you move towards that direction. But you do have to move at it at a slow pace, because if you make too many quick changes, that's a red flag. And those are the targeted audits. Essentially what happens is if you do things like you become an outlier, you will be target audited. If you start billing a high amount, that's not typical. That will trigger an audit. If you start billing certain things at a higher percentage, for instance, glaucoma suspects, depending on which studies you read, should be around 6%, give or take, of your patients. But if you start billing 25% of your patients as glaucoma suspects, that's going to trigger an audit. They also don't like doing something called fishing. So for those of you who are trying to figure out what's the maximum reimbursement, like if you bill something to a vision care plan and they give you 15%, your reimbursement is 15% less than that, you didn't bill high enough. Basically, it means that if you're exactly at 15% of what less of what you billed, they would have given you more, because it's always, they're going to reimburse you at the 15, whatever your amount, less 15%, unless you hit the cap. So what they don't like is if you do something called fishing, where it's like, okay, let's just say OCT, I'm making up a number, OCT reimburse you at $50, but you only charge 30 to your patients. So typically your reimbursement would be 30 minus 15%. You're like, I should go higher. So next time you bill somebody at 35, you're like, oh, it's still there. Then you do 40, then 45, 50, 55, 60. And once you get to 60, and instead of getting paid $51, you get paid 50. You're like, oh, I hit the cap, because that's the maximum amount that they're willing to give me, right? That's going to trigger an audit, because you're fishing for that maximum cap. They don't like that. So you got to make big jumps, or you got to make a jump, and then you have to wait at least 6 months before you change that, how much you bill. So usually they say 6 months is kind of okay, 12 months is better, or it's okay, because we don't always do things in January and June. But they say another good one is they say January. They know people like to re-examine their fees in January. So even if it's been less than 6 months, once it hits January, they're okay with people changing their fees a lot, because they know people restructure for the new year. So those are the type of things is what I mean. So for the targeted audits, something has to trigger it. And usually it's a computer algorithm that starts, you're an outlier, something doesn't seem right. And then a human auditor will review it and then decide if it's worth pursuing or not. If they do pursue it, this part is very scary and it's very intimidating. They will just come into your office and they will say, we need these charts completely. We want the charts. We want the fee slips. We want everything, all the orders for this patient for this encounter. And we're going to sit here until we get everything. And they're going to watch you over your shoulder, make sure you don't modify anything while you're giving them that information. That's a lot. It can be very scary. And I did have to go through one of those in October as well, too. Everything worked out fine. And like I said, the only thing I got dinged for was, as I mentioned, I did a couple of myopia management things after that April 2020, because I didn't realize that they had ended it at that point. And I did a couple of things in the summer and they just made me pay them back that money. But no other penalties, no other fines. I didn't even have to pay the auditing fee, which is typical. Sometimes they'll charge you $4,000 to $5,000 just for the auditor's time. I didn't have to pay that either because they're like, yeah, that wasn't really that much. But all the other stuff, they looked at a lot of the $60 copay stuff, the necessary contact lens stuff, and they're like, yeah, you're fine. Because I had a very clear guideline that said, this is what we do, which categorizes patient as my 550 patient. This is what I do. Have another one for my basic, simple, we're not changing anything. I charge $80 for that. So clear criteria, which puts you in this category, this category. When they saw that, they're like, I mean, you charge a lot, but like I said, we can't tell you how much you charge, but you're very clear in your categories, so we cannot penalize you for that. Done. Necessary contact lens, same thing. Well, it's very clear. You charted, I would not necessarily put LASIK scars on the chart. Maybe you put down something like mid-peripheral circular scar, still descriptive, but not specifically saying that they had LASIK in order to qualify them for the medically necessary contact lenses. But stuff like that, they're like, yep, you have it in your chart, ties in with our criteria, says it in the manual. You're right, can't ding you for that. So I had the audit, and like I said, it's still very stressful. I mean, you want to avoid it as much as possible. And every single billing and coding guru and expert out there will tell you the same thing. But sometimes the thing is, yes, you want to avoid it, but you also want to make sure that when you do it, when you get audited, if and when you get audited, that you're okay. And all that has to do with charting more, putting more information down, whether it's in the patient file or the patient chart. As long as you have clear criteria in terms of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you're consistent between your insurance patients and your private pay patients, they can't ding you for it. Okay, so this is the conversation between me and their auditor, and very, very honest. And like I said, he told me a lot of stuff that you can do and can't do, and things that they look out for. This is pretty much, like I said, it's clear cut, because an auditor is not a doctor. They need to know that they need to understand what you're trying to do. So the more information is better. But like I said, they can't get mad at you as long as you fall within the rules, which is what we're doing, right? All the things that I pulled, all this stuff here, this is taken directly from the manual. I screenshotted this stuff. I'm not making this stuff up. All this stuff right here, right? This right here, this is from the manual. So if I'm following the manual, and maybe it's not specific enough, it doesn't say, doesn't say I can't do something, that's not my fault. That's the insurance's fault, right? Because they're the ones that weren't specifically said I couldn't do something. And it's particularly like when we go back to this part where it says, yeah, see, you cannot use it on myopia management, CRT, ortho. Okay, so if you have those types of things, I know what I can't do. But if you don't have it, and you can't say specifically can't do something, then I should be allowed to do it. So that's how I kind of look at the manual. So it puts me in the spotlight a little bit more, but allows me to do a lot of other things that and come up with more creative ways to bill that, like I said, a lot of you are probably already doing most of this stuff. You just weren't billing it correctly or didn't know that you could do it a certain way. Okay, I'm sure I'll have a lot more questions about audits, which we'll take later. Getting towards the end, I just want to get on this topic because even though it was a completely different topic here, this was a huge, I got a lot more hate on this than I thought I would get, to be honest. I mean, I get it. I will say that I wasn't really trying to get into the explanation of things because it would have taken too long to type out, but I have no problem telling people about it. I just didn't want to write it all out. So those of you who are listening who kind of saw that topic, this is kind of like the bonus at the end of the lecture, get a little extra credit right here for you to understand. So somebody asked, has anybody been successful with increasing the reimbursement for exam? And I said, yes, Spectera. Spectera increased their reimbursement for an eye exam to $120. And then there was a whole bunch of people, like 80% of the people are like, oh, that's amazing, teach me. And then about 20% of people are like, you're full of it. There's no way, which is fine. Like I said, you're good to be skeptical, but so it's one of the reasons why I didn't just tell people is because it wasn't easy. So it's not as simple as call them. And that's what a lot of people were saying. Like, I've called them and they said no. I've written an email, they said no. It's not that simple. And if it was, we'd all have increased reimbursements. Okay. But I want you to get this, once again, a separate thing than what we were talking about, but because it's important to a lot of people, I wanted to make sure that we touched upon it today. Okay. This is what my reimbursement schedule was before. Okay. Probably typical. It's not amazing not special in any way. Some of you might even be better than me. Some of you might be worse, but this is what I had before. And then after I was able to talk to them and get them to listen, it went up to this. And here's just a side-by-side so you can see huge difference, double almost in a lot of different ways. Okay. So how did I do it? Well, it wasn't me. So it was and it wasn't. But here's what I need you to understand. A lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this too, that this is the absolute truth. In the eyes of the insurance company, you are meaningless to them. So you have to be, right? They don't care about you in the way that you think you deserve to be cared about, in the way that we should be cared about and respected. They don't, because at the end of the day, you and me, all of us, we are the product. You understand? We are the product that they sell. The consumer, their consumer, are the companies and the members, right? The companies that buy the plans, the members that utilize the plans. We are the product that they sell. So imagine in your practices right now, right? If you want to understand it from their point of view, what if one of your frame reps came up to you and said, you know what, doc, you need to have more of my frames, and you need to start paying more for them. You would laugh at them, right? How dare you? You're going to tell me how to run my optical, right? I do business with you. I don't need you. I can jump into another business, bring another frame line anytime I want, right? That's essentially what happens every time you call them or email them asking for more reimbursement. They're like, why would we care about you? You're my product. I sell. I don't need you. There's a lot of providers out there. We don't really, if you don't like it, drop it, right? So the key here is that if let's say some of your VIP patients, the ones that always spend money, they love it, they love you, your staff love them, they always drop $1,000, $2,000 every time, them and their whole family, right? They always get the works every time they come in. If a bunch of those of your VIP patients came in and they said, actually, I really like that line. I feel like you don't carry enough of it. I'd be willing to pay way more money for it if you brought more. All of a sudden you would say, oh yeah, I'm going to pick up more of that frame line, right? But it wasn't because the rep asked for it. It was because the patients asked for it. So switching back to this example right here, you're the rep in this example, right? You're the product. So the key isn't what you asked for. The key isn't what you want. The key is what the end consumer wants, their clients, the companies, and the members. So the way I did it, which is not easy, and it takes a long time, and you have to wait for the right opportunity. And many of you may have to wait several weeks. Many of you may have to wait several years before you find this opportunity, but this is how you do it, which is essentially, I looked at my fee structure and I said, I don't really like this. I tried talking to them. They're like, no, you're not going to get more money. Fine. So I went up to who was their biggest client in my area, which for me was United Airlines. And United Airlines has 5,000 people in the Bay Area? I don't know, something like 3,000 to 5,000 people. I have several hundred of their members as my patients, including many executive level people. So I reached out to their HR and I said, you know what? I'm really sorry. I see a lot of your employees, and we provide really good care, including blah, 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 executive, right? We're not gonna be able to take it because you guys switched from VSP to Spectera, and they don't really treat us right. And I don't think they allow us to provide good service to you. So we're gonna have to drop them, which means you're gonna lose access to care for a lot of your employees and your executives, unless you can talk to them for us. See what I mean? See what I did there? So their HR went to Spectera, not me, they did. And they said, you need to make sure that this practice here gets paid more. I don't care what it is. Otherwise, we're going to leave you and go back to VSP or IMED or whatever. So when you look at a company like United Airlines, which has how many employees around the country, when they make a threat like that, all of a sudden Spectera is like, yeah, what do you need? What do you need to make this right? What do you need to make us keep you on Spectera or keep you at a point where you're continuing to, you're happy enough to service United Airlines employees? Get it? So that's why I was able to get this. And by the way, I look at this, I don't even like this. So this is why a lot of people were wondering, like, you're not even listening. I told them, don't put me on anything. I don't want to see anybody that's not a United Airlines people anyways, because this is not a great insurance plan, even with the increased reimbursement. And like I said, just because I make more on the exam doesn't mean I can take advantage of it in the way I do with VSP with all the other benefits, because they don't have that extra stuff that VSP does. IMED doesn't either. That's why I make it a point. I don't really want to advertise that I take either one of these things, except to a certain group of people. So when you ask the question, how are you able to get this? I did some work, but I wasn't the one that made the final ask. I wasn't the one. I facilitated the conversations that got me to get the increased reimbursement. And that's how it's done. So that's why I said you have to wait for the right opportunity. You have to have the right company. They don't care about mom and pop, small one location, deli store in your area. They, when the big companies start threatening to leave, unless you help out one practice, they're going to make accommodations for that one practice as much as possible. And that's how I did it. Okay. So that's pretty much it. So, go Niners. Had to put that in there. Yes, but I'll take as many questions as we can. I'll be here as long as I can. And anyone who has any questions, feel free to email me. That's my username for basically everything: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all that stuff. So you can add me on there if you want to have more specific conversations about your practice and your situation. And as I mentioned before, I'm always on the ODs on Finance page, literally 5 days a week, because there's such good information on there. And I really do appreciate what Dat and Aaron have been able to build. But I'll take as many questions as I can now. I probably have a solid, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes. I can keep asking as many questions. So Aaron, I'll let you choose the ones that you want.
Well, first of all, before we get into questions, thank you so much, Will. That was a fantastic presentation. I think the chat has like over 1,000 comments on it. So a lot of people, great information, a lot of people mind blown, a lot of people have more questions. In the Q&A, we have over 125 questions. Thankfully, Chris, our career consultant, was thumbing through them and finding the best ones. So he just sent me the highlights. I'm going to ask you those. Out here for 5.
Really quick, another plug. Chris is amazing. So I think that the fact that you guys offer that as a benefit, even though there's a small fee attached, I've had conversations with Chris. He's a smart guy. He's an awesome guy. And the stuff that he's been able to pull off is really high level. So great job bringing him on the team, because he is amazing.
He is fantastic. And actually, he was going to ask you these questions, but he had to jump on a consultation call. So that's the reason he's not doing it. So let's go ahead and get started. So number one question, any ideas on renegotiating exam fees with cost of living increasing in my region?
Well, we kind of touched on that a little bit, right? I mean, the exam fees are really difficult for that reason, because like I said, you're not the end consumer. They don't really need you. And particularly if it's an area that has a lot of providers. I think Perry touched on this a little bit when we on the forum, that basically said a lot of it, you have more negotiating power if you're in an area that has less providers. And that's one of the ways that you can do it. It's really difficult because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's like a frame rep demanding or a contact lens rep demanding that you inventory more stuff or raise your prices so that they can get more, commission and stuff. It's really hard to do it. So I don't try to make more money per exam. Like I said, it's the Starbucks example. It's just the 1 cup of coffee. I'm trying to get on all these other little things to add on an extra $20 here, $30 here, $50 here. And in those big cases where I can take advantage of the contact lens exams, an extra $400 here, right? It's nice. So I can't really speak to that because I really wish I had a good answer, but I don't. You just, for that individual one thing, that one exam, it's hard. Like I said, I managed to do it with Spectera. I've not managed to do it with IMED or VSP.
Well, and I think too, you also, everything that you prescribe and recommend, you sell, right? So I think we have to also understand when you're talking about that $300 that you're getting behind there, or whatever it is per patient, they're offering other services. So VSP gets them in the door. It's our job then to take care of them in everything that we're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and that was once again another separate conversation. That was, see, this is why there's so many good discussions on ODs on Finance Facebook group. The way a lot of people view vision plans is just like a marketing program, right? Whether you're part of Premier, VSP Premier or not, like they bring in the patients, and when you can bring them in just for the vision, the new patient, and you can show them that you're really good at what you do, which we all are, and you give them a great experience, they will come back for other things, the medical side of things. You can showcase some of your product for second pairs, third pairs, things like that, where it's no longer about VSP. So VSP, utilizing it to just get the patient in the door for the first time is great. But after that, if you can kind of perpetuate and using your own type of strategies and programs in-house and keep them there and not just have them be a VSP patient, that's even better. So I would say, no wrong way to do this, right? And we all do it in the way that makes the most sense for us. Like I said, I like to engage as many VSP patients as possible because I know I can maximize my reimbursement and provide a great experience. Some places are different. VSP doesn't treat all of us the same. Unfortunately, they don't pay us all the same. For me, it works out pretty well. For other places, it may not. So do what makes the most sense for your practice.
All right, great. And then the next question actually got asked about 15 times. Does Will charge different CL exam rates between self-pay patients and VSP patients?
No. So like I said, I have two criteria, $80, which is I'm not changing anything. You're wearing the same lens, and $550. And there, I do not differentiate between sphere, toric, multifocal. Typically, about 50% of your patients will be sphere, about 30% toric, about 20% multifocal. That's, like I said, your practice can be completely different. That's where the breakdown is. But for me, it's like you're charging for my time. And we all know that there are some spheres that you're like, I have no idea why this is taking 3 or 4 tries. And there's some multifocals, you put one lens on, one and done. You're like, wow, this is great. This is awesome. And especially if you've been doing it a lot, you already know all the different guidelines and fit guides. So for me, I don't differentiate. Like I said, a lot of you do, and you're allowed to do that. I used to, like 2 years ago, and I used to charge, I think it was $250 for that magic number, $250 for sphere, $350 toric, $450 multifocal, and $550 multifocal toric. And then I was just like, you know what? It's done. Just keep them all the same, because I used to have questions like, well, if it's a monovision, that's technically 2 spheres. Or if it's, or do we call that a multifocal? Or is there 2 torics, one sphere on one eye, one toric on the other eye, but monovision is that? I'm like, you know what? It's getting too confusing for everyone. One flat fee. That's me for simplicity reasons. Don't have to follow that rule.
All right, great. And then a few questions on CVC. So will the patient pay a second copay for the CVC second authorization? That was the first question.
Yeah, so if it has a copay. So most of the time, if you saw the specific example I gave, they had a $0 exam copay and a $10 material copay. I usually have seen it like that, or I've seen a total copay $10, which means where they get one or the other. So in a lot of cases, I will basically, I look at that ahead of time, and I don't talk a lot about the copays and stuff in the chair with the patient, but the staff knows how to talk about it afterwards and basically say, hey, look, this is your, this extra benefit right here. Doctor already wrote you a computer prescription, and you only have the $10 copay, and you get all these benefits again to buy a computer pair, or like I said, computer single vision, near variable focus, whatever you need.
All right, great. And then for CVC, does this stuff work for out-of-network providers too?
I can't speak for that. Honestly, I don't know a lot about the on-network stuff. I wish I could, but I'm in network and I know the rules are different. So I'm not going to pretend to be an expert there, because all I would be able to tell you is things that maybe not. And I don't really want to get into that. Sorry. You'd have to have somebody like maybe
the slide right here, because he's going to know the answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so scan the QR code for whoever asked that. He'll be able to answer that, Steve will. Okay, and then for the computer vision benefit, if patient does not get additional computer materials, can you still bill for the exam?
Yes, because you did the exam portion, so you can. So I do that all the time, particularly when there's like the one I showed, which has a $0 exam copay. Like, patient doesn't have to do anything extra. I already did all the work, so I just got an extra 30% on my exam reimbursement for that day just because I did it. And like I said, you can get 65% too, but it's really hard. I prefer to just get it done quickly because, if you have them come back to do the computer vision exam, you're setting aside 10, 15 minutes, that's chair time that you could see another patient or do a medical. So, like I said, my reimbursement is 90. So if I get an additional 30 the same day, that's great. But if I have to have them come back and only get like 65, then I'm wasting 15 minutes for $65. Just give me the 30 for the same day,
Right.
But you can do both. You do what makes sense for you. If you're not super busy, have them come back on a different day just to kind of reevaluate, have them bring their laptop. I've done that before when they're like, I don't know, I have very specific setup. I have multi-screens. I use a tablet laptop. Okay, we'll have them come back and schedule a follow-up, have them come back and bring your tablets and, your iPad Pro and your Surface or whatever, and we'll make that setup in the office so that we can really measure it out and get it super accurate, right? Why not?
Sounds, yeah. A question about, do you have NeuroLens in your office? There's a question about that in VSP.
I don't. I've tried it. I'm gonna be very honest. I'm very interested in the technology, but I've not. I don't think it's there yet, or at least the when I looked at it about a year and a half ago. I know that there's a kind of a newer version that's come out that I have not tested, so I'm going to be looking at it at Vision Expo East, and if they have some demos available. Like I said, it works in a lot of senses. I'm always intrigued by new technology like that, where you can differentiate yourself. I just didn't believe a couple of years ago it was where it needed to be. However, like I said, I've heard that they've made improvements over the last few months, so I'm anxious to try it again.
We're just implementing this technology too, Aaron, so they'll help you through, because if you start dinging that frame only benefit is where a lot of the auditing comes from too. So I think that's what people are talking about. So they do help you through some of that in the onboarding on how to make it beneficial for your patients and still maximize their vision plans. But the majority of the time, you're going to sell them pair number one, and then pair number 2 is the NeuroLens. So you don't have to play that game. So it really becomes a specialty pair.
I think there's 2 ways you can do that with VSP. One, you can build the lens benefits, but you have to do like specialty labs, which basically means that you just give them 20% off, and then you deduct the dispensing fee and deduct the fee of whether it's single vision or multifocal. So the patient still ends up getting just a small discount, and you get paid a small reimbursement, and patient pays a lot out of pocket. That's one way to do it. The other way, I know that if you are going to do frame only, the way you want to survive that audit is this is something I think that was recommended by IMED. Actually, they said document it somewhere that you popped out the demo lenses. So whether they're sunglasses or ophthalmic lenses, as long as you put down somewhere in the notes that you sold the frame but you took out the lenses, that way the patient couldn't use it as a plano pair, whether they're sun or ophthalmic. That's how they're like, you put that down, we'll be okay with it.
All right. And then how do you pull a second authorization for the CVC benefit? It's a common question.
Yeah, like if they have that benefit, when you go to eyefinity.com, you pull up the member information, whether you use their member ID or it will show you right away, just like when it will show up on their plan as if they have it. Usually we have the little signature, it'll say all services, or you can check off the box for exam or contacts or frame or lens. Usually we just pick all services, and then you'll see it in there as well if they have it. All the other ones, the second pair benefit, the CVC benefit. We've even had patients that have LASIK benefits. So I used to get into this with some people where they're like, ophthalmologists would never take VSP because it's beneath them. I'm like, no, that's not true, because some patients have a LASIK benefit. It's very rare, but I've seen it where they get something like $500 off per eye or $1,000 off per eye. The highest I've seen is one that they got $1,500 off per eye. But they have to go to an in-network LASIK doctor, which clearly has to be an ophthalmologist. So for people that are like, no, ophthalmologists would never play this game. I'm like, yes, they do. They just don't do it as much, but yes, they do.
All right, great. And let's just go through a few more questions. How do you let VSP know you're changing your contact lens fitting fee? That was a big one.
It used to be back in the day that you would have to send a letter or update it. I've talked to a lot of them more recently, and they're like, you know what? It's pretty much just automated now. So when they start seeing you bill through, they will note the prices that you changed it to in your file. So you don't even have to tell anybody or say anything or fill out any form. You just start doing it, And like I said, as long as they see that consistency, they're like, okay, this is their new price, and that's it. That it is what it is. So that one's easy. You don't have to do anything. Just change your price and bill it accordingly.
And then the follow-up question is, how are you billing VSP the rest of the money for the CL fit after the $10 copay is collected?
Oh, it's the same. So just like you bill any line item. So in Eyefinity, or if you use something else, you do 92310. Diagnosis will be what, myopia or whatever. And then I put my fee in there, $550. I put down the, usually it's like how much you charge the patient, which is just $60, and that's it. And then they just, it's billed the same way that you do anything that you would bill an OCT or bill an exam, or there's no special rule that you need to do about it. It's been there this whole time. People just didn't realize you could do it. So they just took a copay and moved on without billing. So there's no special rule there.
Awesome. Yeah. And let's move on to medically necessary. Quite a few questions on that. Mm-hmm. First, using a medically necessary code requires an RGP or specialty lens, or can you use these codes with a normal soft contact lens?
You can, but so that's why I said you have to understand the visually necessary versus medically necessary. So in this case, I don't know if you just said medically necessary because you're just used to it, or you were referring to that in particular. When we do visually necessary, and like I said, our ISOs are high myopes, we tend to, you don't need to bill anything special. It automatically calculates the prescription and it qualifies them. When you do the medically necessary side, you can use soft lenses. There's no reason that you can't, but remember, you're capped at that 800. There are ways around it, which, like I said, I didn't want to get into because it's a higher level thing and I didn't want to confuse people, but there are ways you can get up around that 800 for soft lenses. But that's in general why, you can, like somebody who has keratoconus, you don't have to put them in RGP or a scleral, right? If it's very mild and stable and they're comfortable and in softs, you can do that if you want to, and not every one of us are comfortable fitting RGPs and sclerals. So you're just capped out a little bit earlier. I mean, I love fitting sclerals all day. I mean, you're getting $2,300, $2,400. I don't know the exact number, and that's a huge nice chunk of change there for something that if you're good at, you can get done fairly quickly. And there's a lot of technology here nowadays that help you that aren't too expensive. I have a Pentacam, which is way too expensive for most people, and I wouldn't go into that right away, but S-Maps, eGlitz, things like that are very affordable and can help you get there. My huge recommendation to all the older doctors here, older doctor owners who are here, specialty is such a lucrative thing, even with VCPs. And I get it if you weren't trained in this, and this isn't really why you got into optometry, but hire a young OD who has a passion for specialty contact lenses, because if you want to know the number one thing that will generate a huge amount of revenue quickly, it will be specialty contact lenses. Whether you do a private pay or you do with insurance, it's almost a joke how much money, I'm never going to say that to them, but it's almost like this is crazy how much they're paying us for this type of stuff. And I would say if you have the right technology as well too, you could train a brand new grad or even a fourth year student to be as good as some of the best scleral fitters in the world. That's what technology does. But you certainly don't need it. I mean, there's Brianna herself here is what I believe is one of the best specialty lens fitters in the country. And I've joked about this before. You give her a slit lamp and no other piece of technology, she'll still fit sclerals better than everybody else out there. So it helps.
Well, I wish, but it helps to have the technology.
Yeah. I'll buy you a Pentacam as a present.
Love it. No, I want a Tesla, Will. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, I'll take a Pentacam because a Pentacam is more expensive than a Tesla.
I was going to say, that's more expensive.
It depends which one. You can get your Model S Plaid and all the long range or performance, all that stuff. You're fine.
All right. And then another question on medical. How do you get full reimbursement for an annual supply of contact lenses when your private annual supply cost exceeds the VSP max? Example, Total One or Oasis One Day, VSP only pays $750 total.
Yeah, those are more difficult. This is why for the necessary contact lenses, you generally don't go for the premiums. You go for more of the standard entry utility value-based ones, which are going to be the Aqua Comfort Plus, Moist, BioTrue, even Precision One to a certain degree. I would say start there, right? But at the end of the day, too, for the ones who are truly visually, medically necessary, visually necessary, I think to me there's an obligation to get them in the best lens you can. So in those cases, I don't mind as much if I don't make a lot of money and I hit the cap early, because these are people that really need your help, and hope, and just to let them, I wouldn't even feel bad saying like, hey, with this, I'm actually losing money, but I'm really trying to take care of you. And a lot of patients may look at that and be like, oh, wow, my doctor really cares. And you just got a patient for life. Hopefully that refers friends and family. Hopefully that buys, sunglasses and stuff from you. So I don't really like losing money, but sometimes, you don't make as much, but at the end of the day, we are here to take care of patients. And as long as you don't have too many of those, like I said, you may not make a lot, but don't lose money.
And one more medically necessary question. This came up a lot, actually. Do you take photos, et cetera, to support documentation when you're billing medically necessary with certain diagnoses like other corneal scars and opacities?
Yeah. So I do a lot of, I have a Optos Monaco. And so I do a lot of, imaging on about 98% of our patients. I also have the Pentacam, which we do on everybody. So there's a lot of imaging involved. It's not always interior segment photos. I just kind of reserve that for more of like actual things that, so I don't do that on everybody, but there's usually enough data to justify a lot of things I do. And a lot of it is how you word it too, right? When you chart, like I said, I don't say LASIK scar, positive for LASIK scar. That looks kind of a little touchy. I'll say positive mid-peripheral, bilateral mid-peripheral scars, stable, circular.
So a quick question that I've seen come up here. So that computer vision syndrome, what are you doing for testing in the background? Are you doing a BCC, NRA, PRA? What are you adding on to your exam? Because all of us love binocular vision. I'm totally kidding. What are you?
I do like binocular vision. So that's not a joke. I actually thought you were serious.
I do, because of myopia management, but a lot of people, we get scared of binocular vision, right? So like, who knows what, all those are. So what's your 3 basic tests that you're doing?
Well, like I said, so if we go back to that slide all the way in the beginning, you don't have to do everything, right? So that's why in certain qualifiers, it's like you pick 2 out of 3, and, you don't have to use the same 2 out of 3 for every patient. Likewise, you can, and just make it easy, and just, a lot of these people aren't binocular vision patients, right? That's what makes it difficult. Like when you have a binocular vision issue, it's like, man, this is tough. And if you're not comfortable and you're not experienced with it, those are really, really difficult to get through. And those are the ones I tend to just, for me, it's like, I do pediatrics and I refer to the local VT doctor, Dr. Carol Hong. She's amazing. And she always takes care of my patients. And, but these are patients that have, that just want a computer prescription. They're getting, mild fatigue, mild headaches, things like that for being on the computer 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So you have to do the binocular vision tests, but you're not necessarily working with the binocular vision patient. See what I mean? So you just have to do it, put down the results. But look at that first one, near point of convergence, like that one's not a difficult thing to do at all. Cover test, that's pretty easy to do and not something that should be difficult, or you don't have to really worry about like, oh man, if I do this wrong, I'm going to screw up this kid's vision for life. Right. So in the NRA PRA, like I said, it's, I know a lot of us may not have done it since optometry school or since we took boards, but it's just one of those things that you can do quickly. What amplitude, facility, those kind of things. You just pick your things that you do and just incorporate it in. But like I said, you don't do on every patient, right? You just need to know, you just need your front desk or your tech to somehow indicate somewhere that, hey, this person has this plan. So just throw it in there. Spend that extra 30 seconds to do a couple more things that you previously weren't doing, just so that you can qualify for you basically hit all the criteria necessary so you can bill it properly without any issues.
All right, great. I'm going to give you 2 more questions, then we're going to jump into a raffle since we're hitting the 2-hour mark here. So number 1, if you need to place an amniotic membrane, will VSP pay for it?
No. So they don't do everything. That's definitely one that they don't do. I wish they did, but that would be, oh man, if I did, I would have retired. If they could do that, I'd just do that all day, because I told you, like this stuff, there are no prior authorizations needed. There's no copay. So I don't do a lot of amniotic membranes because I'm not on a lot of medical panels. And for the patient to pay out of pocket, that's quite a bit. VSP does not have it as part of their essential medical eye care. But you know what they do have? Punctal plugs. which are really nice too, to be able to throw in there. I think punctal plugs are underutilized, and they will pay you a lot of money, not amniotic membrane money, but quite more than any of the stuff that we just talked about today. If you do punctal plugs quite a bit, the fact that you don't have to do any prior authorizations, no copays, no deductibles is great. And for those of you that actually read the DEUCE 2 report, which is like 400 pages long, so none of you, they actually talk about punctal plugs. We're always worried about inflammation and kind of all these things, all that junk that we keep in their eye. They've actually, the DEUCE 2 report actually concluded that when they looked at the inflammatory markers 1 month after patients that had punctal plugs inserted, that they were not at an increased level. So what we previously thought about punctal plugs being kind of more cautious because of some of the inflammation issues that can happen, probably not as much as we thought. So that was in DEUCE 2, and that's been out for a while, but they did say that further studies are needed. So once I kind of read that, I felt more comfortable putting in, at least having them try punctal plugs. And that was a huge practice builder too. Something we didn't get into, and something we can get into, we can talk about essential medical eye care and dry eye in a whole 2-hour lecture by itself. It's so big and such an easy practice builder in that sense. I've even experimented with a few things, actually. For those of you who do LipiFlow, iLux, and TearCare, I found a way to get VSP to reimburse it, but it's pretty gray area. So I'm not going to get into it, and I'm probably not likely to teach anybody it for a while until I become more comfortable with it, because I definitely don't want anybody to get in trouble with any of the things that I talk about. But it's to me, stuff like that, where it's like, you're telling me VSP will pay for someone's TearCare? Yeah. And I know how to do it.
All right, great. And then our last question, going off of having a couple sequel lectures, a lot of questions on how to make money on the optical side of VSP. Mm-hmm. Are you open to doing a lecture on that? And then, of course, essential eye care in the future of it? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Optical stuff. There's not as much little tips and tricks that you can do there outside of what we already know. Obviously getting a little bit more reimbursement here if you're part of Premier, and doing things like, watching out for the wholesale frame allowance. That's a big one, actually. Here, that's just a quick tip I'll give you guys right now. So those of you who always worry about the wholesale frame allowance, that VSP has, basically makes it so that you can't buy a cheap frame and charge like $200 so let's say a patient's wholesale frame allowance is $50. That means anything that's under 50 wholesale, you can't charge the patient any more for it. So if I bought a $20 pair of glasses and I sell it for $2,000, I can't just be like, well, we'll deduct $150 and then 20% you pay the rest. You're not allowed to do that, because the wholesale frame allowance is above the wholesale cost of your frame. So those of you who have integrated frames data into your EHRs have a lot more trouble getting around this. But the key thing with the wholesale frame allowance is not necessarily the actual wholesale frame of the lens of the frame, the price of the frame. It's actually the wholesale that you paid for it. So there's a lot of ways that you can ask your vendors. It's like, man, I want to buy these $25 ones, but then I'll get dinged by this wholesale frame allowance thing. Can you instead charge me $100 per frame on an invoice and just give it to me 75% off? Because it doesn't matter what discount you get, that doesn't matter. But now, instead of having that $25 frame, which I can get in trouble if they take a look and say you were not supposed to charge the patient, now it's a $100 frame that I just happen to get 75% off on. And that's the key, is that's how you get around some of the wholesale frame allowance stuff for those who kind of sell some of the more budget frames, stuff like that. I mean, like I said, that doesn't inherently make you more money in the optical, but prevents you from losing money, which is also a big factor.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up since we've been on here for quite a while. So thank you again for coming on. I know we got a ton of questions, a ton of chatter. So this has been a great lecture, a lot of value for all our members. So I do appreciate you coming on. And to all the members, if you want to ask questions, remember at the Traveling OD. You can find him on social media. He's very active. He's on our group, so you can PM on the group. And I know you do a little bit of consulting, so I'm sure a lot of individuals are going to reach out to you and be asking more questions.
Yeah. Anytime, anywhere. I mean, like I said, you start a conversation on ODs on finance, and I'll jump in, tag me if you want me to do it. I know a lot of people do that every once in a while, but it's yeah, I don't mind, talking about things more publicly, especially if more people can learn. But if there's a specific situation and you don't want to be public, just, PM me, email me, anything like that. I will say, please do not call my office. There was a bunch of people that actually called my office trying to reach me leading up to this. And they emailed my staff trying to reach me about specific questions about coding and billing. And I was like, let's keep that part separate. They're busy doing other things for me. Just reach out to me directly.
Awesome. Sounds good. We're going to do a quick raffle here, and then we're going to announce the next event. So once again, Will, thank you so much. And that is sending me the winner over for the raffle. And this is put on by Dr. Contact Lens, by the way. So once again, make sure to check them out. Brianna was active in the Q&A as well. So make sure to reach out to her if you're interested. And it is Mai Nguyen. So Mai, M-A-I, Nguyen. You are the winner of a $100 Amazon gift card. So please email us or put it in the chat. It's admin@odiesonfinance.com, and we'll get you that $100. See, you learn how to be profitable and you make some money. What can be better? All right, and then make sure to register for the sequel. So Steve, who has actually been active in the chat, I didn't even know he was here today, is going to be given a fantastic lecture. It's a little bit of an antithesis to what we talked about today. It's how to unplug your practice and eliminate vision plans completely. So he's going to give his 1 hour spiel on that. But otherwise, once again, I want to thank Will for coming on. I know he's in Vegas, he's partying. I can see Kat in the window right there getting ready. And I want to thank all our sponsors as well. So Sunbit, OptiZoom, Dr. Contact Lens, iTrepreneur, and Acronos, you all made this possible. So thanks everyone for coming on. Go Niners. Yeah, we're all going to watch the game in just a few minutes. Otherwise, any final words, Will? Otherwise, we're going to close it out.
Honestly, like I said, all these things I'm teaching you, it's not going to apply to everybody. I tell people all this all the time. I'm giving you tools for your toolbox. Just like any other tool, you can let it sit there and collect dust, or you can use it to build a birdhouse, a treehouse, or a cathedral, right? So at the end of the day, use as much or as little as what I'm teaching you. Use as much that applies to you in your practice. I just want to give you the ability to become more successful. What you do with it is on you, because, the truth is I want to be able to help everyone, but I can't be everywhere at once. So, reach out to me if you need to. But honestly, I would say one of the biggest resources I've ever had in the last few years is actually just being part of this ODs on Finance community. It's very powerful. And sometimes we get really heated arguments about things, and that's okay. It's because we're all passionate about optometry, and there's no one way to do it. Right? There's 40,000 of us out there, and we practice 40,000 different ways. And nobody knows your practice and your patients better than you. So do what you need to do. Like I said, and as we do, hopefully more of these, I hope to be able to give you more tools that you can, like I said, use as much or as little as you need. So appreciate being invited to this.
Awesome. Thank you again, Will. And to all of those asking for a recording, it will be sent out to you in a follow-up email. We are not going to make this a public accessible lecture, but we are going to send it out to all that registered. So once again, thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Will. Will, do you mind writing your email in the comments? A bunch of people are asking for it. Also, a bunch of people that live in Vegas are wanting to meet up with you, so you might.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong place right now, man.
Hey, right. How come nobody wants to meet me in in Alaska with my practice there? I have a condo. We can all hang out.
All right, flights to June. All right, thanks again, everyone. And Will's email is right there. We are going to go ahead and end the meeting for today. Have a great Sunday and have a productive next week.
Eric should guitar us out.